Today, we're going to be taking a look at some FNAF fan games that know exactly how to terrify their players. From incredible atmosphere to perfectly timed scares and moments that constantly leave you on edge, these games understand what makes horror truly effective. Some of these manage to scare you without even doing much at all, so let's dive into them. 2025 has been a crazy year for Five Nights at Freddy's fan games so far. We've had incredible titles such as Banshee, Five Nights at Frederick's, and Freddy's Reanimated. It's honestly incredible to see how much this community is thriving after 11 years of the original game's release. Somehow, people are still able to take the original concept and add new and unique experiences to it, and are somehow able to retell the same story in a way that's interesting every single time. It really goes to show just how much love this community has for the original source material. Today, we're going to be looking at one of the newest FNAF fan games to release, one that has built up a lot of hype and certainly lived up to it, with mechanics so unique that I've never seen before. So join me today as we dive into the twisted world of Locked at Freddy's. Locked at Freddy's begins with an opening cutscene. We introduce ourselves as Elliot Woods, and we begin to tell the story of the most terrorizing night of our entire lives, starting with us taking a job offer at Freddy Fazbear's as a security job. When we pull up to the building, we notice a purple car parked outside. Thinking nothing of it, we walk inside the building and get knocked out by a man in a bunny suit. Wake up. Oh shit! So this is about to be cool. Oh, what the fuck? What the fuck? We wake up inside of a Springlock suit. By completing a quick time-based minigame, we escape certain death, only to realize the real amount of trouble we're actually in. The man who attacked us, presumably William Afton, begins talking to us through the intercom system. He tells us what we're in, and that if we can survive until 6 a.m., we might get, quote, something special. I'm hoping it's that rabbit deer. Oh, Jesus Christ. And with that, the night begins. Something we need to immediately get out of the way is that this game, technically speaking, only has one night. However, the way a normal FNAF game would call a night, Locked at Freddy's calls an hour. So each hour of the night basically acts as its own night. I made that sound way more complicated than it actually is, but who cares? Let's start by talking about the main mechanic that you're going to be aware of, that being the Springlock suit attached to your bones. Whenever you move in this game, that meaning looking from side to side, a small indicator bar in the bottom left corner will detect your movement. If it fills up all the way to the top, you will die. At first, I thought this was going to be the most devastating mechanic ever introduced into any FNAF game ever. However, during my playthrough, I figured out how it actually works. This bar increases based on how much X-axis movement your mouse has. So if you slowly turn from one side of the office to another, it will increase very quickly. However, if you were to say, whip your mouse to one side of the screen really fast so that the screen has to catch up to your mouse's position, since you didn't move your mouse for very long, the bar will not increase very much at all. So this is definitely the route to go. Two more interesting mechanics that go along with the Springlock suit. First, when you open the camera, the bar will pause wherever it's at. This means if your bar is halfway increased and you open the camera, even though your player isn't moving, the bar will not decrease like it usually does when you're not moving. And only once you pull the camera down will it begin to decrease. The final, pretty poopy mechanic the Springlock suit brings takes place when you interact with the doors. The doors in this game work the same as the doors in FNAF 4. That being, you have to manually hold them closed. There is also a big lever next to the door you can pull to shine a light in the hall. Now, this final amazing and not ass-clenching mechanic has everything to do with interacting with these two very important pieces of the game. If you interact with either the light lever or the door itself whilst your movement bar is yellow, you will be entered into the Springlock minigame from the beginning of the game, and if you fail it, you lose. Now, completing this minigame isn't difficult. What's so annoying about having to do it is knowing that if you're needing to close the door, you probably don't have time to sit and do a minigame. Is this mechanic cool? Yes, I think it is, but that doesn't stop it from making me want to ride a bike with no seat. Now, with that out of the way, we can actually talk about the first threat this game introduces. Bonnie. What? Oh god, oh god. Why is he wearing a hat? Who gave him the fucking hat? Oh my god, look at how fast that power goes down. Of course, He's probably the most basic character of the roster, but that's typically how he is, and that's just how we like him. I'm kind of breathable a little bit. Oh my god, dude. What's wrong with me? Bonnie will quietly make his way to your left door, and let me be clear, him not making noise is a big deal, as sound cues are going to be very important throughout this game. Once Bonnie reaches your door, all you have to do is hold it closed. You will hear him bang on the door and then start breathing really hard like your mom does when she walks up a flight of stairs at a below reasonable pace. Once he starts breathing, you're free to let go of the door. However, if you ever turn the light on while he's at the door breathing, you will get eviscerated. After completing 12 a.m., 1 a.m. will begin, because that's how time works. Insane that I have to explain this to you. During the chat with William, he explains how we're the second person to be in this game. When asked who the first is, William responds that his name was Michael, and that he's currently in the back room stuffed inside of a suit. Some of the most brutal stuff, let me tell you. But before we can ask any more questions, he tells us that someone new is activating and the hour really begins. This hour introduces Chica, who does not act the same as Bonnie in the slightest, which is honestly really nice to see. Chica, of course, attacks your right door, except she actually is much more aggressive. Much more of a dom, which I would usually be chill with, except unfortunately for me, this is the ugly Chica, not bad bitch toy Chica. Once Chica gets to your door, unlike Bonnie, she is actually kind enough to leave us a sound cue. When you hear it, you will need to hold the door closed. She will then start pounding on it like your mom pounds down Twinkies. Whenever you hear the pounding stop, you must quickly open the cameras and use the alarm button I haven't mentioned so far. When you use the alarm button, an alarm will play. Who would have thought? And it will go off for 10 seconds. Use this once Chica stops banging to scare her away from your office. It doesn't matter which camera you use it on either, so that's really fortunate for us, the player. This game will eventually become pretty intense, and that will become more apparent once you notice how different each character really is. During the next phone call, William tells us the story of the children, how he murdered all 5 of them and placed their bodies into the suits so that the police wouldn't find them, explaining that the company shut down because of this and that he got away with it. He mentioned that there was still one single thing that could put a wrench in his plans, but he says he locked her in a box. I want you to keep this line in mind, as it will become very important later. For now, we have to talk about a new threat. This new threat is Foxy, a character I honestly thought was going to be a whole lot worse than he actually was. Foxy does exactly what you think he does. He has multiple stages he will move through in Pirate's Cove before charging at your door. This time around, however, he can attack either side, needing you to rely on sound cues to figure out which side he'll try to hit. Once you know which side he's on, all you have to do is hold the door closed. When you hear him bang on it, quickly turn the light on to scare him away from the door and he'll run back to Pirate's Cove like a little piss baby. Something really good to note about Foxy is that he really doesn't demand your attention at all, and that was a surprise to me. Unlike in FNAF 1, where watching Foxy on the camera stalls him, he will move at the same rate whether you're looking at him or not in this game. So all you really have to do is listen out for his sound cue and you'll be well in the clear. Just hope he doesn't attack when Bonnie is breathing, because if he does, then say goodbye to your anus because you're not getting it back. During the hour 4 phone call, Elliot calls William out for being an idiot, because what does killing 5 kids do for anyone? William turns into a piss baby and pulls some pain levels of, "You don't know the kind of pain I've been through," emo antagonist. William says he lost everything, and that the most important thing in his life got taken away. Knowing the FNAF lore, he's probably referring to his daughter. When Elliot asks how killing children fixes that, William deflects and the hour begins. Freddy is the next threat introduced. Freddy, of course, has to introduce my least favorite mechanic of all time. Occasionally, throughout the night, Freddy will laugh as loud as he possibly can like the asshole at the movie theater. When he does, do you want to take a wild stab at what you have to do? If you said find him on the fucking cameras, you'd be right, god damn it! Once you find Freddy on the cameras, you will have to play the alarm on whichever camera he is at, which will make him leave. But of course, as I'm sure you could have guessed, this does bring up another issue. Now we have 2 characters that make use of the same mechanic, and this mechanic has a very long 10-second cooldown. So let's imagine a sick and twisted scenario where Freddy does a little giggle. Okay, it's time to go look for him. so you do exactly that. Just then, the moment you press the alarm button, Chica starts blowing up your door's asshole like the 4th of July. Well, shit. Let's hope Chica takes a long time to start pounding on my glass, because otherwise she's gonna start pounding on my ass. Luckily for us, however, it does appear this was thought about while the game was being designed, because after Chica finishes pounding on your door, she usually won't start pounding on your window for a couple seconds. And in all honesty, there's nothing more satisfying in this game than using the alarm to take care of Freddy and Chica at the same time. Two birds, one stone type shit. The 4 a.m. phone call has William turn into the Joker, talking about a brand new toy he's created in the workshop. Says he made it specifically for occasions like this. What could he be talking about, I hear you ask? Great question, dear, honest, innocent, and defenseless viewer. Allow me to answer that burning question for you. Going into the workshop where you can find the corpse of Michael, Chip will jump onto the camera. Literally, this motherfucker got hops. Kinda like your mom in the drive-thru at Taco Bell. Seriously, you tell her, vamos a Taco Bell y pidamos todo, and she starts hopping. You wanna take a solid guess as to what this guy introduces? If you said my second least favorite mechanic, ding ding ding, you'd be exactly right. Chip introduces a music box mechanic. If you're not winding it throughout the night, he'll insert his entire forearm inside of you. But Chip is an animal, and I know a lot of you guys are furries, so you might actually enjoy that. Freaks. You're all freaks. Freaks! During the hour 5 chat, we call William a bitch. We tell him he's hiding from us. And when we say that, he gets an idea that we're not going to be a huge fan of. Nothing new is added during this hour, except I just lied straight to your face. Within the first minute of the hour, you can hear a car pulling up outside of the building, and William himself enters. What the fuck was that horn? What's this car I'm hearing? Is he here? He's already here. The yellow rabbit can come from any side. Close the door and wait for it to leave. Every knock the door affects the spring locks. If you hear the sound of the wind-up toy, prepare for an attack. What? That's right. The final threat introduced is William himself in the spring lock costume, who, spoiler alert, is the guy that knocked us out at the beginning of the game. I know, crazy, hard to believe, right? So let's ask ourselves, is his mechanic going to be fun? Well, it's actually pretty unmemorable, honestly. William will make his way to either one of your doors at random. When he arrives, he will make a sound cue to let you know he's there. How kind! Once he's at your door, all you have to do is hold it closed and he'll give it that Chica treatment, pounding on it by slapping it with his big fat stupid balls. However, something a little bit different from Chica is that his big fat stupid balls are so powerful that they will actually cause your spring lock meter to increase every time he bangs on the door. And while sure, that may sound cool, but due to the fact that you won't be moving your mouse during this because it's sitting on the door holding it closed, it really only serves to look cool and make William feel intimidating way more than it serves to actually be a mechanic. But that's about it. Beat this night and you're home free. Oh wait. Shit. William, what are you doing here? Hey, buddy, stay back. You stink like shit. Hey, don't you take one more step. Hey, don't you do it. Now,
you'll be trapped here forever. Bye, Elliot. Rest here in the darkness.
What the fuck? So yeah, we got killed by William even though we won, and were stuffed into the Chip suit, which is clearly what he meant when he said he made Chip specifically for situations like this. Soon after, we're given the message, you can fix everything, find castle, with a crayon drawing of a castle shown. This is honestly really appreciated. I personally have no problem with the true ending of a game being a little out of the way, as long as it doesn't require me to repeat a massive section of the game, if not the entire game all over again. Secret of the fucking Mimic! So this game actually giving us a massive hint on how to find it is actually really refreshing. Going back to 5 a.m., if you go to camera 5 and click on the castle drawing, you will be thrown into a night minigame. And now I get to talk about it because this minigame was actually pretty fun. Upon loading into the minigame, you will learn the two most important mechanics, attacking and not attacking. Whenever you attack, you will swing a little lance, and whenever you don't attack and are moving, your curse meter will go up. If your curse meter increases too high, it will turn yellow and you won't be able to attack. Does this remind you of something? Because it should, as it's literally a metaphor as to what we're going through. We are in a suit, but instead of it being armor, it's a spring lock. Whenever we move, our danger increases and prevents us from using our only means of defense. And spoiler alert, the rest of this minigame is a metaphor as well. Very early on, we walk past a big purple locked door. Obviously, we'll have to come back to this eventually, so keep it in mind. Continuing to travel, we enter a room with our first boss battle. Being unable to fight this one, it's completely about not being seen. Hide behind pillars as he passes so that we aren't noticed. At the end of the hall, we see a child locked inside of a cage, and it's our job to free them. We see it's locked via a code, and we have to count the numbers of each colored balloon to get it. Don't question it, it's a FNAF game, it's weird, it's dumb, whatever, just move on. Afterwards, getting the key to the cage and freeing the child. This obviously being a metaphor for saving one of the missing children. The next boss we face is a bit more difficult, Brute. He has a shield and we can only strike when it's down. This weird, sad-looking bunny cloud above our head will occasionally take a piss and we have to dodge the stream. Meanwhile, hentai tentacles will occasionally come up from the ground. Dodging these is actually kind of difficult as the way they move is completely random, so this fight was a bit frustrating. After beating Brute, we get another key and save another kid. We continue to explore, finding a massive furnace. You should know by now, if you're familiar with my channel, that pretty much nothing is an accident, so you know this will almost certainly be important later. The next boss we face is the Mechanism. He slides across the ceiling and will shoot homing missiles at you, all the while whipping a laser around that you have to dodge as well. Honestly, this fight looks a lot more intimidating than it actually is. After beating him, bingo was his name-o, another key drops. The final boss we go up against is the Executioner. This guy has got a massive axe, or a hammer, I can't really tell. When he slams it on the ground, it leaves a shockwave behind that you have to dodge. The Piss Goblin is back up in the sky, and the hentai tentacles make a return as well. Honestly, this is probably the easiest of the boss fights. It just takes the longest because this guy has a lot of health. After beating him, he drops the final key and we can leave. However, I would highly recommend you don't leave because if you want to get the true ending, we have something else to do. If you take all of the keys we've collected so far and take them back to the furnace, you can melt them together into a single purple key. Then, using this key, you can go all the way back to the start where the purple door was, and now you can unlock it, because that's how a door and a key work. Heading inside, we find a box, the same box William mentioned putting her inside of. The box opens, and the marionette reveals herself. She thanks us for setting her free and says that it's now her job to set us free. We need to survive until 6 a.m. Now, if we complete night 6 one more time, near the end of the night, the marionette will appear in our office and we get one last cutscene. The marionette takes off our suit and we go to take revenge on William once and for all. Hello! Don't be afraid of me. I will save you. Whoa, whoa, bitch! I took off your suit. You are free. We will take revenge on him. Oh. A secret room. What the heck, bro? Oh shit! Oh. A word? Oh, word. Oh shit, where'd he just go to? All alone in the darkness. Oh, hello. Oh yeah, I'd be fucking shitting myself, bro. We are already here. We are waiting for you. Oh shit. Whoa, what the hell? Oh damn. Oh damn. Dude, yuck. Oh shit, what the fuck? It's time to end this. Attack bucket of FNAF assemble type shit. Oh, it's spring locks. Oh my god. Oh shit. Oh shit, it's spring locks. They're locking up, bro. Oh. Oh shit. There he goes. Holy fuck. Oh damn. What the fuck? Hell yeah, shut his ass down, bro. Now you will be locked here. Forever. What the fuck? And there we have it. An ending where we survive and all the kids can finally rest. Locked at Freddy's tells its story in a way that feels like a personal confession. A night one man survived and isn't entirely sure how. The whole thing is framed around Elliot Woods, a guy who moved to Hurricane and took the first job he could find because he needed money. And unfortunately for him, that job happened to be at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which is already a red flag in this universe. But the important detail here, something a lot of players miss, is that Elliot never actually becomes a night guard. He never makes it to the office. He never even starts his job. He's attacked the moment he walks inside. A man in a rabbit suit, clearly William Afton, kidnaps him, drags him off screen, and forces him into a springlock suit. Not a costume, not a mascot, a torture device. You're waking up inside a machine built to kill you if you breathe wrong. And that's where the story really begins. Not as an employee, but as a victim William chose for reasons we don't fully know. And for the entire game, William is basically treating the situation like a twisted interview. He's watching Elliot, studying him, testing how long a person can last when trapped inside a springlock coffin. The animatronics aren't really the point. They're just environmental hazards William unleashes to make the test harder. He talks to you through an intercom all night, and this is where we get the real story. William admits everything. He killed 5 children, he hid the bodies in the suits, he shut down the location, and he never got caught. But the part that actually matters, the part Locked at Freddy's is built around, is the one thing that did scare him: the marionette. He says there was one single thing that could ruin all of his plans, something strong enough to fight back, and he said he'd locked her in a box. That's the core conflict of this game. The night isn't just William tormenting Elliot, it's William making sure the marionette stays powerless. Every time he talks, you can hear how confident he is. He's got Elliot trapped. He's killed before, and he thinks this is all going according to plan. But something changes as the night progresses. When Elliot pushes back, asks why murdering children fixes anything, William actually loses composure. He starts ranting about loss and how he had something important taken from him. There's a reason people compare this game's version of William to Saw's Jigsaw. This isn't William in the middle of the FNAF timeline, This is William trying to prove something, trying to justify his pain by putting someone else through it. And that's why he comes to the restaurant at 5 a.m. He's not coming to kill Elliot because he's winning. He's coming because he wants the ending to be personal. He kills him, stuffs him into the chip suit, and considers the night finished. Another victim contained, another spirit silenced, another threat buried before it can become a problem. But the moment Elliot dies, the entire story flips, because that's when the children finally make contact. The message, "Find Castle," isn't just a clue. It's the kids reaching out. It's the souls William tried to control doing the one thing he never prepared for, fighting back from inside his own game. And the Cursed Night minigame is their language, their world. It's not literal, it's symbolic. It's Elliot navigating a space built out of memories and trauma the kids experienced and helping them break down the barriers William left behind. Every boss you defeat represents another spirit being freed. Every key you collect is a child William tried to silence, locking them away. The furnace is where you merge them, giving them the strength they need to unlock the one door William never wanted opened: the box. And inside that box is one entity who can actually challenge him: the marionette, freed not by the police, not by Henry, not by the spirits, but by Elliot, the victim William assumed wouldn't survive 6 hours. She thanks him, she understands what William did to him, and she chooses to help. That ending scene, the puppet removing the suit and freeing Elliot from the spring locks, is the first time in the entire game that Elliot has any control over what's happening to him. He's no longer one more body in a suit, he's a survivor. And with the spirits awakened, the puppet free, and William still in the building, the true ending leaves us with the moment William has always feared. For once, he's not the hunter. Elliot is. Locked at Freddy's ends right where William's downfall begins, with the victim standing up, the souls awake and united, and the puppet finally out of the box. But as far as I'm aware, that's all Locked at Freddy's has to offer. Overall, I think this game serves as a very interesting retelling of the original story. The gameplay is very fun, and somehow managed to make me not hate my two most hated mechanics in FNAF history. Everything in this game feels responsive yet restrictive in just the right way, and all of the characters work together perfectly in tandem with one another, something a lot of fan games just aren't capable of. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think this game is actually just really underwhelming? Let me know in the comments below. In my Freddy's Reimagined video, I asked you guys what you think the scariest FNAF game is and why, and my favorite answer is this one by Jack Univa. They said Graveyard Shift at Freddy's, and I think we can all agree in saying that game is pretty terrifying in a plethora of ways. One of my favorite genres of games is roguelikes. I also, as I'm sure you could have guessed, really like Five Nights at Freddy's games. I've only built a whole career off of it, so I'm sure you could have figured that out. So I bet you can imagine my pleasant surprise when I was told that there was a Five Nights at Freddy's game that was also a roguelike. The moment I learned of this, I downloaded it as fast as I could and started filming videos because I just knew even before playing it that it was going to be getting a Dxtr White video, and here we are now. You guys know what game I'm talking about. You can see the length of this video. I very clearly like this game a lot. So sit back, relax, and join me as we dive into the chaotic world of Too Many Nights. Unlike most FNAF games, Too Many Nights doesn't follow any storyline or the typical FNAF formula. Instead, it acts as an endless minigame that doesn't stop until you fail. Although I'm sure you already knew that considering everyone on Earth has played a roguelike before. At the start of each run, you will get to pick a character, of which there are many. Each character gives you a different set of abilities, with each having a list of pro and cons. You don't start with all of them and will have to gradually unlock them by doing specific tasks. I'll go over them in a bit. After picking a character, you will have to select 3 animatronics to put into the pizzeria. And this is where this game gets brilliant. You get to choose 3 animatronics yourself. The game will never choose them for you, and your initial choices will be random at the start of each run. However, if you really don't like your starting options, you can press R to reroll your first pick as much as you'd like. As I'm sure you could have guessed, there are several animatronics in Too Many Nights. Each has a unique mechanic, and it will be up to you to plan out which animatronics you bring along. and control how they will be forced to interact with each other. Each animatronic falls into a certain category. You have your door animatronics, your camera animatronics, your mask animatronics, your vent animatronics, your flashlight animatronics, and what I'm going to call your nuisance animatronics. Each of these categories serves its own purpose, and generally speaking, picking multiple animatronics from the same category will make your gameplay experience easier. Before I really start talking about the characters, I'd like to explain the rest of the experience of a run. To start, after selecting your first 3 animatronics, the run will begin. After completing a night, you will be forced to add 1 new character. Every few nights, you will also be forced to add a penalty. These penalties fall into 2 categories: your general penalties and your character penalties. I'll dive into each of these later as well. After selecting a penalty, you may get the chance to go to the shop and buy some items. Throughout the night, you will gain Faz coins from successfully defending yourself from the animatronics. Once again, I will get into these items later. Keep repeating this process until you eventually die, and boom, that's the gameplay loop of Too Many Nights. Of course, that was a very oversimplified explanation. So now we're going to dive into each of the animatronics, how they work, and to keep it interesting, I'll even throw each character into a tier list so that you can all argue about it in the comments. Hold up, guys. I want to take a little break here to tell you that this video is sponsored by me. For those of you who didn't know, I have channel memberships. I would never ask anyone to do this as I don't even have any interesting perks attached, but if you really enjoy what I do and would like to support me a little bit extra, that's a great way to do it. Also, if you'd like to actually get something for your money in return, I have a merch store with some designs I commissioned from a fan, the same fan who actually drew these new character PNGs. So if you'd like to have my silly little demon character on your clothes, then that's a great place to go do that. And hey, if enough people end up liking that stuff, I will 100% get some more created in the future, and maybe even commission some more fan artists for some uniqueness in art styles. You can find the link to that in the description of this video. Sorry for the interruption. Let's talk about everything that Too Many Nights has to offer. I'm just going to go down the list that appears on the wiki, and be prepared, there are a lot of animatronics. Editor, I'd say I'm sorry for what you're about to have to do, but that would be a lie. Let's go. Freddy is a camera animatronic, aka my personal least favorite type of animatronic. Freddy will start on stage and make his way towards your right door. All you have to do is occasionally stare at him on the cameras to make him go backwards. I'm sure you can guess why I'm not going to like a majority of these camera animatronics. If he ever reaches your door, he will never leave and you'll be forced to keep it closed for the rest of the night or die. Freddy also has 5 penalties that have the option to be chosen when you have to select a penalty. The first is Mad Freddy, which will make you have to look at Freddy longer to make him go backwards. His second penalty is Branched, which gives him a chance to be able to attack your left door as well. And when you're playing this game, you will very quickly fall into a pattern, so having a character be able to switch up on you like this would very obviously throw you off. Stare Down is another Freddy penalty. This one is horrific. It makes Freddy never move backwards. Staring at him will only stall him. However, to compensate, he moves a lot slower, and the camera doesn't have to be up for you to be able to stall him. Invisifreddy is a penalty that I'm sure you could take a solid guess at what it does. That's right, it makes him fucking invisible. Isn't that great? Sure, a sound cue is added to his movements, but fuck that. That just sounds like AIDS. Finally, we have Nuh-uh, a penalty that's just so silly. When Freddy gets to your door, he will prevent the door from ever closing again throughout the rest of the night. Isn't that awesome? No, it isn't? Yeah, I know. Don't choose this one if you can help it. Overall, I'm not a fan of Freddy, but without penalties, he isn't the worst character in this game, so I'm going to give him a C tier. Bonnie is a door character, aka a character I usually like to pick. Bonnie starts on stage and makes his way to your left door. Once there, a sound cue will play and you'll have to close the door and stare at him on the camera until he goes away. Then you can open the door again. Incredibly easy character, however he does have 3 penalties. Cutting is a penalty that makes both Bonnie and Chica take shorter paths to your doors. Because of how easy both of them are to deal with, this penalty isn't too bad. Quiet Steps makes Bonnie and Chica not make sound cues while at your door, so yeah, fuck that. No other words need to be said. And finally, Flip Side is a penalty that will make Bonnie and Chica swap doors immediately after leaving the first door. Easily the second worst penalty these two have. Speaking of Bonnie and Chica, Chica is literally identical to Bonnie, except she attacks the right door instead of the left. And because of this, and how quick I am to pick these two, I'm putting both of them in S tier. Foxy isn't the worst character I've seen, but I did avoid choosing him for a very long time. Foxy will try to leave his stage in the ticket booth. Have your camera on him to stall him. If you don't, he'll charge at your door and bang on it, and make you lose a poop sock full of power. Foxy has 3 penalties and 1 item, which is pretty cool. Insta-Foxy is a penalty that will cause Foxy to instantly start in his last phase at the start of a night. This penalty actually isn't that bad at all, just let him charge right away and it's like the penalty isn't even there anymore. Hen House is a penalty that forces the camera to be up to stall Foxy, which actually is the most cancerous thing I've ever heard of. Haywire is the final penalty, which will make him attack your other door directly after attacking the first door. The only bad part about this is that him banging on your door drains power. And the item that Foxy has is called Good Guy, which makes Foxy not a threat. Looking at him will make him progress, and when he comes to your office, he'll give you a nice little gift like a good boy. Because of how much of a non-issue he is if you balance him properly with the other characters, I'm putting him in B tier. Mangle is a vent animatronic, and she's honestly not that big of a problem. She'll move through the cameras into one of your vents. All you have to do is put your mask on when she's in a vent. She will enter the office for a short period and then leave. I personally hate having to use the mask in this game, so I try my best to avoid characters that force that, but Mangle is probably the easiest of them. Mangle does have 3 penalties. Anger management is a penalty that makes looking at Mangle speed her up. Aggressive Mangle is a penalty that makes Mangle force you to put the mask on for longer. And finally, Slithering In is a penalty that causes looking at Mangle in the vents to make her immediately appear in your office. Overall, I hate the mask mechanic. However, Mangle isn't the worst mask character in the game, so I'm giving her a C tier. Caroline, or the marionette, behaves exactly how you'd expect her to. She's a music box. Hooray! Who could have expected that? If the music box winds down, for the rest of the night she will randomly teleport to a camera with a sound cue at random intervals. You will have to find her and stare at her if you don't want her to kill you. She does, however, have a whopping 6 fucking penalties, so that's just amazing. Let's go over all of them quickly. Winding down makes you have to wind the music box for longer. Moving box makes the music box move to a random camera every time you pull the camera down. AIDS. Muted music makes her not make a sound cue when she teleports to a camera. Show Stealer gives you less time to find her while she's away from the music box. Last Stand is really ass, by the way. When it turns 6 AM, Caroline will teleport to a random camera, and the night will only end once you find her. Dude, there's nothing I can do about that. I can't do anything about that. That's just fucking cooked, bro. I can't do nothing about that. And finally, the worst penalty yet, Caroline Carousel, which will make her be away from the music box the entire night. Genuinely, never pick this penalty. Caroline is definitely annoying, but in all honesty, the music box is pretty forgiving until much later nights. So, because of this, I'm only putting her in D tier. Lizzie is the first non-FNAF canon character we'll be talking about. Fun fact, there are a lot of non-canon characters, but I think that's what adds to this game's charm. Lizzie herself isn't actually the threat. She spawns down bitty buds in your office while your camera is up. Simply hold your flashlight on them and they'll disappear. If there are too many, they'll call Lizzie and she will then kill you. Lizzie has 2 different penalties as well. Speedy Bud will make the bitty buds call Lizzie to your office faster, and Help Wanted will turn the brightly colored bitty buds into dark colored plush Lizzies, which are much harder to see in the very purple office. Lizzie is one of my favorite characters to see in my runs. I love flashlight characters, and I really love office characters. So because of this, I'm giving her S tier. BB is a bitch, but I'm sure you didn't need me to tell you that. And of course, they gave him the worst mechanic of all time. At random times, he will teleport to a random camera with a sound cue.
Hello?
You will have to find which camera he's on and hold the flashlight on him.
Bye-bye.
If that wasn't bad enough, his penalties make him even worse. Mute BB makes him not make a sound cue, which is actually just fucking torment. Don't pick this. I'm Moving will make him teleport to a second camera after you find him the first time. Little asshole. And Aggressive BB will force you to hold the light on him for longer. Literally, fuck that. I'm sure from the tone in my voice, you can tell I really don't like BB, so because of that, I'm obviously giving him an F tier. Sparky the dog is a camera character that makes me piss blood. He's in the storage room and has 4 phases he will move through before appearing in your office and forcing you to put the mask on for a decently long time. To prevent this, all you have to do is stare at him on the cameras, something I've already made clear I'm not a super huge fan of. He also has 3 penalties if your urine wasn't already red enough. Mad Sparky will force you to look at him on the cameras for longer to push him back. Sparky Speedy will make Sparky move faster, obviously. And Aggressive Sparky will make you put the mask on longer if he enters the office. I don't like camera characters. I hate the idea of staring at a character to stop them. D tier. Percy Poodle, yes, from Playtime with Percy, is easily one of the best characters in the game. Being an office flashlight animatronic, all he does is have multiple phases in front of the big office window. He'll start pounding on the glass in his final phase, and you'll then have to hold the flashlight on him to make him go back. He also only has 2 penalties, and both of them really aren't that bad. Aggressive Percy will make him only go back to his last stage the first time you deal with him, but only the first time, so who cares? And Mute Percy makes him make no sound cue when he's pounding on the glass, so just open your eyes and this won't be a problem. Percy is simple. Percy is always an easy pick, S tier. Rowan Rat, on the other hand, is actual fucking torment. At random times, he will appear in any of the 4 corners of the building. When you see him in one, shock him and he'll go away. You will also have the ability to use a radar to detect where he is and where he's going. Oh yeah, and you only have a certain number of shocks, so that's just terrible. He has 4 possible penalties, and all of them are worse than death. Aggressive Rowan gives you less time to shock him. No radar removes the fucking radar, making you constantly have to check all 4 corners yourself. Less shocks obviously gives you less shocks, as the name would suggest. And Invisi-Rowan makes him fucking invisible. Fuck that. Never in a million years am I picking that shitty option. Rowan by himself isn't the worst, but if you get any of his penalties, which will happen eventually, he becomes a nightmare. So I'm putting him in D tier. Maple is almost a good character, but because it's not the only character you'll be up against, it's hard to find it as an attractive pick. At the beginning of each night, it will require you to collect a certain amount of plushies. This number increases with its AI value. You will then have to search around the cameras for these plushies. If you don't find them all before 6 AM, it'll kill you. Amazing mechanic, but again, it's not the only one, so it's really just more of a pain in the ass. It does have 3 penalties. What are those? Well, Early Killer will have it check if you have the plushies at 5 AM rather than 6. Hidden Counter will literally just make it not tell you how many plushies you need to find, which is bullshit. And Restock will add a timer to how fast you need to find the plushies. If you don't find them in time, it'll re-hide all the plushies again, forcing you to find them all in pretty much one go. Again, it's not the worst, but can easily get out of control on later nights when you start to only focus on certain cameras while it has the large plushie counter. So I'm going to give it a C tier. Noelle is another very interesting character that easily has the chance to be forgotten about. When you start the night, a pair of scissors will appear on a random camera. At complete random, Noelle can appear in the office with a sound cue. When it does, you need to find the scissors and click them to make it go away. The scissors will then teleport to another random camera. If you don't click the scissors, it'll force you to put the mask on for a few seconds, which is a long time in this game. Noelle, of course, has 3 penalties. Pull down will make it forcefully pull down the camera when it enters your office, which could honestly be seen as a good thing. Bro, that's not okay. I fucked myself. Having the force pull down from Noelle mixed with the Roby absolutely fucking creamed my ass, dude. Aggressive Noelle is terrible. When it enters your office, if you click any camera aside from the one with the scissors, it will immediately make you put the mask on. And Crazed Teddy will cause it to insta-kill you instead of putting the mask on. A certain item does affect Noelle, however. If you have Chill Pill, you will get 4 additional seconds to put the mask on when it attacks you, which is a lot of time in this game. I'm not a huge fan of Noelle, especially not when it has Aggressive on, so because of this, I'm going to put it in C tier. Melatonin is a real bitch of a character. It moves around the cameras, but it's invisible when it does. You'll hear it laughing in one of your ears, and on the 3rd laugh, you'll have to close the door of whichever side it's on until you hear it leave. It has 2 penalties that just serve as the salt in the wound as well. Switch Up is easily the worst. Before it moves, you'll have to check the dining room to see a counter for how many laughs it'll have before attacking, now being randomized from 2 to 4. Unplanned only makes its first laugh on the correct side, needing you to remember which side it was originally on. I don't like characters that I can't see. I also find it really hard to keep a timer in your head like you need to do with melatonin, so because of this, I'm putting it in D tier. Lydia is a dog. She'll be in the ticket booth in a fucking cage where she belongs. When you hear her banging on the cage, you'll have to take her out like Ol Yeller. Just kidding, you actually just have to hold the cage until that dumb mutt shuts up. The wiki for some reason doesn't have a page for her, and since I avoided her at all costs, I actually never experienced any of her penalties. But if I had to guess, I'd bet one of them makes you hold her cage for longer and another makes her not make noise when she's attacking. But going off of how I know her to be with no penalties, I'm going to put her in C tier. Amber is a character that at first didn't seem too bad, but will very quickly become a run killer. She begins at the entrance. At random times, she'll hold up a playing card with a suit on it. You will then have to click the corresponding suit on the cameras or she'll kill you. The 2 penalties she has might actually be the most evil ones in the entire game. Follow suit will give her the ability to have more than 1 card, and 52 pickup will make that number of cards she can hold literally be any number, which is so retarded I can't even begin to explain why you shouldn't pick this, so just don't. I thought Amber would be great, but I very quickly started to avoid her whenever I could. C tier. CG is annoying, a nuisance character, but not very hard to deal with unless you get unlucky. She will randomly move around the cameras, and if you look at her on the cameras for too long, she'll make you put the mask on for a really long time. Her penalties aren't really the worst, however. Aggressive CG will make you put the mask on for longer, and Insta CG will make her enter your office if you look at her, period, even if only for a fraction of a second. However, a monitor is added to your office showing exactly where she is at all times so that you can easily avoid her. There are much worse nuisance characters, and if you don't have any of her penalties, she really isn't a problem. B tier. Dsam, I'm gonna say Sam, is a character I never once chose throughout my playthrough. You may think that makes me a bad reviewer, but I personally think that makes me someone who values not killing myself. Sam will slowly walk back and forth in front of your window with some sound cues. Before he gets to a door, you will have to close it, making him a character you pretty much always have to be watching. He has 2 penalties. Quiet Sam removes his sound cues, and Invisa Sam forces you to only use his sound cues. So pick your poison, dumbass, or even better, just don't pick this character. D tier. Roby is torture. I thought he wouldn't be so bad, and let's just say I wasn't so right. He sits in your office with a timer on his eye. When it reaches 0, you must have your mask on or you will die. He has 2 penalties that are all equally terrible. Mute Roby removes the sound cue he makes right before waking up. Awoken Roby makes him stay awake longer, forcing you to put the mask on longer. I'm dead serious. Don't pick this character. He is horrific. F tier. Alexis is simple, but very easy to forget about, especially on later nights. She will randomly wander around the cameras. If you pull the camera down while on the camera she's at, she'll make you put the mask on for a really long time. So you'll have to switch cameras before pulling them down. She also has 3 penalties. Aggressive Alexis makes her act like CG, where looking at her for too long will also make her attack you. Sneaky Ghost will only make her appear on a camera after you look at it for a second, and Crazed Ghost will insta-kill you instead of making you put the mask on. If you are diligent and aren't an idiot, Alexis is not an issue. But because of how fast you'll be switching through cameras on later nights, I can't give her any higher than a B tier. Onion is another character I never choose. When you pull up the cameras, there's a chance he'll be on them and quickly run left or right. You will have to close the corresponding door. If you close both, he'll drain a bunch of power. Again, for some reason he doesn't have a wiki page, so I don't know what his penalties are, but just knowing what he does, I'm going to put him in C tier. T Generic is a very annoying character who I only choose if every other character was ass. He will be in the entrance with an arrow on his face. Once he leaves the entrance, he will go to whichever vent he was pointing to, and you'll have to stare at him in that vent until he goes away. If he gets into your office, you'll have to put the mask on for a very long time. He has 3 penalties that somehow make him even more annoying. Crazed Robot will make him insta-kill you instead of putting the mask on. How About I Do Anyway will make him enter your office regardless of if you looked at him in the vents or not. However, if you did look at him, you'll have to put the mask on for a shorter amount of time. And Glitched will make T Generic sometimes switch what vent he's going to, making his arrows completely useless. He's a character that breaks the rules and that breaks my balls. D tier. Kaiden acts in much the same way as T Generic. He'll start in the entrance holding a sign with an arrow pointing left or right. Once he leaves with a sound cue, you'll have to close whichever door he was pointing to. He of course has penalties that make him silent and make him go in the opposite direction the sign was pointing to. I've actually picked Kaiden multiple times because if you can avoid his annoying penalties, he's an incredibly easy character to deal with, since you can close both doors when you hear his sound cue for about 2 seconds and not have any additional penalties. A tier. The ink monstrosity is always an immediate pick for me. It starts in your office on the ceiling and slowly creeps down. Hold your flashlight on it to force it back up. The best part is it'll basically teleport all the way back up when you flash the light on him, but that's where his penalties come into play. Stubborn will make you have to hold your light on him, removing the loveliness of this character, but overall still isn't too bad. Head Start will make the ink monstrosity start halfway down in your office and won't be able to go all the way back up to the top. Easily the worst penalty this character has. I love this character, always an immediate choice for me. S tier. Robo Popcakes is a character I initially avoided, but eventually grew to really like picking. At random, he'll spawn on your cameras. Not a specific one, he'll just be an overlay. You will have to match up 2 patterns using the arrows on the overlay, and once you do, he'll disappear. If you don't do it in time, you'll die. This character is always one I liked choosing because of how likely I am to pick characters like Bonnie and Chica, because while I stare at them on the cameras, I can deal with RoboCake, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. He has 2 penalties. X = X minus 2 gives you 2 less seconds to align his face, and pop time will only cause time to progress when you complete a Robo Popcakes attack. Overall, even with max penalties, Robo Popcakes isn't a terrible character. A tier. Entity 12 is pure masochism. They'll start in the storage or maintenance and move down your hall. Watch them on the cameras to make it go back. If they get to your office, they'll make you put the mask on for a long ass time. And get this, the 2 penalties they add doesn't make it any better. Aggressive Entity 12 will make you put the mask on for the rest of the fucking night if it gets into your office. And Run Killer will literally start with it inside of your office and it will never leave. Literally fuck that, fuck this character, F tier. Mura is a character I'd highly recommend not picking if you have other characters that don't want you spamming through cameras, because you will have to be doing that a lot with Mira. Mira will be in the kitchen the entire night and will require you to feed her candy. If you don't feed her enough, you'll die. Candy will randomly spawn throughout the cameras, so you'll have to surf through them to click on them. The penalties she adds are brutal. Savory Tooth makes candy spawn less. Small Plate puts a small cap on the amount of candies you can hold at a time. And Sweet and Sour adds sour candies that will remove a candy from your candy counter if you click on them. So if you've been working your muscle memory this whole time and get this penalty, have fun clicking on every single sour one all the time. I'm not a fan of the camera surfing this character brings, and I'd much rather prefer to just ignore picking her. D tier. The Ringmaster is an interesting character. He'll randomly spawn on your cameras. When you see him, you'll have to flip the camera down and greet him in your office. If you switch cameras, he'll make you put the mask on for a long time. Crazed Magician is a penalty that will make clicking off of his camera just instantly kill you. And Masked Magician will make flipping down the camera always make you put the mask on, but for less time than usual. I don't love picking Ringmaster, but I will usually end up choosing him later in a run. B tier. The Entity is someone who gives me AIDS. They will randomly spawn on your cameras in 3 locations, except only one of them is actually real. You'll be able to tell because the fakes will be more transparent. Again, for some reason their wiki isn't available and I never actually chose any of their penalties, so I'm not totally sure what they are. But I hate find them on the camera characters. You guys know that. D tier. No VA is a character I only dealt with once, acting as probably the most nuisance characters of all the nuisance characters. No VA will randomly move around your cameras. You will have to avoid clicking on the camera it's on or you'll have to put on the mask. On lower AI levels, the camera it's on will be marked with green, making it very easy to see. As the AI goes up, it'll get harder and harder, eventually becoming fucking invisible. And let me tell you, the penalties make it even worse, as I'm sure you could have guessed. Malware makes clicking on no VA's camera kill you instantly. Spamware makes no VA on multiple cameras at a time, and adware creates an adware window on your cameras. If you don't close it fast enough, it will force you to look at no VA's camera. I actually think this character is really cool, and I think that its penalties are actually super interesting. Aside from malware, that one is AIDS. I still don't love picking this character though, because I hate mask characters. So because of this, I'm giving no VA C tier. Moldy is a character that is a really good pick for early game, but late game will easily become a character you will forget about. Whenever you pull down your camera, there's a chance he'll be in your office. If he is, you'll have to hold your light on him for a while, or you'll have to put the mask on. He has 2 penalties. Aggressive Moldy will make you have to shine your light on him for longer, and Crazed Mold will make pulling up the camera while he's in your room instantly kill you. Again, early game, he's amazing, but you will very quickly forget about him once more characters start to get added. So because of this, I'm giving him B tier. Rita Rabbit is thick, but that's not important. What is how she works. She sits on her fat ass in the arcade, slowly attempting to leave. All you have to do is hold the flashlight on her to make her go away. Honestly, not that bad of a character if you pair her with other arcade characters, which there is a decent amount of. She has 2 penalties. Aggressive Rita will make you hold your flashlight on her longer, and Cheeky Rabbit will make her move faster the longer you're not looking at her camera. If you know how to stack her with other characters properly, Rita shouldn't be a problem even if you have her penalties. A tier. Coral is another character that I love seeing as an option to pick. Coral will randomly appear at either of your doors with no sound cue, so you'll have to make sure you're paying attention. Simply close the door he's at and he'll knock, letting you know he's left. He has 2 different penalties. Blinding will make you additionally hold the flashlight on him for a while, and making sure will force you to have your camera down while the door is closed in order for him to leave. I love this character, he's super easy to deal with, S tier. Shrimp is another character that just makes me giddy with joy whenever I see her. Shrimp will occasionally spawn some shrimp food in your office on either side. Whichever side it's on is the side you have to close the door of until the shrimp food disappears. The 2 penalties she adds are easily some of the best to deal with. Big Shrimpin' is a penalty that will cause the shrimp food to have the chance to be really big. If it's really big, you just have to close both doors. And Small Shrimpin' gives the food the chance to have the lid off. If it is, all you have to do is close the door to the opposite side of the food. Shrimp is incredibly easy to deal with, she's satisfying to deal with, and she doesn't use the fucking cameras, which I love. Easy S tier. Worm is the next character we have to talk about, and I avoided this guy like the plague. I was very scared of how it was going to work, so I never actually ended up using it. Worm will start in the dining room and go down your right hall and will stay there until you open the door. When you open the door, it'll crawl through your office. Avoid looking at it either by using the mask or looking at the cameras until it leaves. It also has 2 penalties. Snail makes it move across the office slower, and Digger will make Worm add another bar of power usage while it's at your door. Worm just seems like a character that would completely disrupt the flow of the night, and because of that, I'm putting it in D tier. Kyle and Bob are the 2 next assholes I want to talk about, and these guys are weird, and also really shitty and confusing, and I don't fully understand them. Kyle and Bob are 2 separate animatronics, but they work in tandem. Both of them are vent characters. If Kyle, the yellow one, enters your vent, you have to look at him on the camera or he will enter your office and make you use the mask. If Bob is in your vent, you can't look at him on the cameras or he'll enter your office and make you use the mask. The only problem is, I was never able to figure out how to tell which one entered the vent. At first, I thought maybe they'd alternate and I'd have to remember, but then during one run, Kyle attacked twice in a row. So I'm thinking there has to be something I'm misunderstanding about these 2. Of course, they each have 2 penalties. Crazed Sun makes them instantly kill you if they enter your office, and Eclipsed will make one of them invisible while the other is in the vent. I tried to like these guys, but because I'm retarded and can't fully figure them out, they were never for me. D tier. Magi is a pretty interesting character. He will consistently walk back and forth in front of your window. At random, he will make a sound cue letting you know he's about to attack.
Come on, go.
When he does, you have to close the door to the side he's on, leading to you needing to keep track and remember which side he's on at all times. This isn't too bad for someone like me who tries to be able to stay in the office as much as possible. Magi has 3 penalties. Reach around will change the way his sound cues work. If he says
surprise
or
you won't see this one coming,
you will then need to close the door to the opposite side he's on. This can be confusing for obvious reasons. Do it myself is a penalty that will make Magi attack the opposite door whenever you deal with his puppet the first time. And Invisimagi makes him fucking invisible, as I'm sure you could have guessed. Magi is not my favorite, but I have no problem picking him later in the run when things are getting tight. B tier. Mallory, on the other hand, is torture. She stays in the ticket booth. At random, she will hold up any amount of fingers on one hand. You will then have to flash her with the flashlight that many times. If you flash her too many times or not enough, she will dash at your door 15 times. This is AIDS. And I can't even lie, 15 times? Why so many? Seems a bit overkill, don't you think? But let's talk about her penalties, which she has 3 of. Ambidextrous will make her be able to show you up to 8 fingers. DoorDash will make her charge 20 fucking times instead of 15, and DoorDash EX makes her charge your doors for the entire night. Easily one of the most bullshit characters when you have her penalties on, but if you can avoid choosing them, she's only really ass because her hand is conveniently behind the fucking camera map. D tier. Roy is one of the only camera animatronics I can actually stomach. He starts in the dining room and slowly makes his way to your office. You can lure him to a previous camera by holding your flashlight on them. Since he's a moth, he's attracted to the light. He only has 1 penalty, Aggressive Roy, which will just make you have to hold the light for longer to get him to move. Overall, very solid character, and not too annoying to handle until his AI value gets really high. A tier. Silly is kinda silly. Fuck, editor, cut that out. Silly is my favorite vent animatronic. He moves around the cameras, who gives a fuck? Eventually, he'll enter one of your vents. When he does, all you have to do is hold the flashlight on him before he enters your office and eats your butt. He also only has 1 penalty, Aggressive Silly, which makes you hold the flashlight on him for longer. Very simple character, he makes sound cues, I like sound cues, S tier. Next up, we've got Bop. She's an interesting ADHD-riddled little fuck. When you pull down the camera, there's a chance she'll be standing in your window. She will then dash towards either of your doors. Simply close that door before she gets to it. She has 3 penalties. Layered Square will make Bop charge your doors multiple times. Bop Spawn will cause Bop to be able to spawn at your window even if the camera is down, and Force Down will make Bop force your camera down if it is up. A character that requires quick reaction time, and when more characters get added can be easily missed. E tier. Venus is a fucking plant. Oh, you want to know what they do? Sure, that's fair enough. Venus will sit in the kitchen the entire night like your mom in the middle of the night looking for more food, even though she ate 65% of dinner that night. Throughout the night, bunnies will spawn in your room and you'll have to click on them to collect them. You then feed these bunnies to Venus in the kitchen camera. Very fucked up, Venus. These bunnies are cute. Venus has a hefty 4 different penalties, actually being one of the highest in the game. Wabbit hunting will make the bunnies in your office jump around, making them harder to click. Except they're still not hard to click, so it's not that bad. Depopulation will make the bunnies spawn less frequently. Wanderer will make Venus randomly move around your cameras instead of camping the kitchen. And Mako will add Venus's friend Mako into your office. If you click on him, you'll die. Venus is very fun to play with. Their mechanic is satisfying, clicking on the bunnies is fun, and even most of their penalties aren't too bad. S tier. Cyrex is the next character we need to talk about, and I absolutely hate her. She starts in the ticket booth and slowly makes her way to your office. Before she gets to your office, you'll have to go to the ticket booth camera and call her to your office manually and then put the mask on. If she gets to your office by herself, I'm assuming you can guess what happens. And if you couldn't have already guessed, her penalties aren't much better. Rising aggression makes her make you put the mask on longer the longer you take to call her to your office. And Call Tracker will randomize the camera the call button is on every time you use it. This character is Torment. This character is Anguish, F tier. Next we have Ellie, another character so potently AIDS I fear even talking about her. Her goal is to chew the wires in the storage room to cut your power. You will have to watch for her in either hall. When she's in one, you must make sure the door on that side is open and shake a box of snacks on that side of the office to lure her inside of the office. She will leave shortly thereafter. If your office door isn't open when you lure her, she will bang on the door and drain your power. She also has 3 penalties if this didn't already sound terrible enough. Shaker will force you to shake the bag of treats longer. Power Chomper will make Ellie drain more power when she bangs on your door, and Wind Skip will make her able to teleport from one hall to another without ever appearing in your window like she usually does. I don't think I have to explain why this character is awful to deal with. The rules that go along with her are far more complicated than any other character. F tier. The next character we have to begrudgingly talk about is Ammo. Ammo starts in the dining room and will slowly wander to your right door. Each camera he travels through will have an eject button with 2 power. Before Ammo reaches your office, you must press the eject button on any camera that has the eject power, which will then send him back to the dining room. Once a camera is out of power, there's no way to get it back. If this wasn't terrible sounding enough, you haven't even heard of his 3 penalties yet. Quiet Ammo will remove his sound cue when he moves. Single Take only allows each room to have 1 eject power instead of 2, and Demon adds Ammo's friend, Demon, who will randomly move around the ejectable cameras. If you eject a camera Demon is on, you will die. I hate this character. Dealing with him can be bad on higher AI values, but since he's nowhere near as bad as some of the other characters in this game, I'm putting him in D tier. And here we are, 29 pages into my script later, and we can talk about the final animatronic in this game, Swagman. Swagman has a pretty interesting mechanic I've actually never seen before. He will randomly wander around the cameras. You will have to stare at him to fill his swag meter up. If it goes all the way down, he will make you put the mask on for a long ass time. However, this mechanic isn't as bad as I'd usually say it is, because you can easily tell which camera Swagman is on because he lights it up. So, what about his 3 penalties? Well, Swagalicious makes him move from camera to camera faster, which can get annoying. Endless Swag will force you to put the mask on for the rest of the night if Swagman gets in, and Eye on the Swag will make Swagman's meter go up slower than usual. Overall, not a bad character, and no penalty that removes the ability to see what camera he's on. C tier. And there we go! That's every single character in Too Many Nights. I love how many there are. It leads to such a new and interesting experience every time you play, and I love it. But now I'd like to mention the general penalties that aren't specific to any character, as there are a few of those as well. Generally, from what I've noticed, it's much smarter to pick the general penalties over the character penalties, as it will be much more likely that they will be easier to deal with. Overtime will make each hour of the night last 2 seconds longer, and you can actually have 2 overtime penalties active at a time. Less power will, as the name suggests, make you start each night with less power, 10% to be exact, and you can have 3 of these penalties. Less room is a penalty that will give you 1 less option when selecting animatronics, and you can have 2 of them. All-Star will make the next enemy you add start at max AI value. Stranger Danger will add a random character you don't already have at a very low AI value, and Midnight Motivation will make all characters' AI value increase at 3 AM. All-Star, Stranger Danger, and Midnight Motivation are probably going to be penalties you always want to avoid, but I personally don't think the other characters are that bad. Next up, I'd like to talk about the characters that you can unlock to play as, because if you remember, each character has different pros and cons for you to choose from. To start, each character has a different amount of lives they'll start you with. Getting jump scared by an animatronic will cause you to lose one of these lives, giving you multiple opportunities if you mess up. And of course, I'll be putting these guys on a tier list as well. The first character you will have by default is Michael. He gives you 3 hearts and has no abilities. He's as basic can get, really. D tier. You also, by default, have 3 other much more interesting characters. The first being Elizabeth. She gives you 4 hearts and forces the enemies to have their AI values increase slower. But as a con, you'll receive half the amount of coins you'd usually get. The low AI value honestly makes her pretty valuable, but of course, never being able to buy anything is never fun. C tier. Evan is the next auto-unlocked character. He gives you 3 hearts, makes all enemies start on a higher AI value, but to compensate, nets you 1.5x more coins, which will be nice for when we talk about shops later in the video. High AI values are never super great, especially if you're dogshit at FNAF games like I am, but overall, he is nowhere near the worst character to choose. C tier. Cassidy is the last character you'll unlock by default. She only gives you 1 heart and makes every single enemy start at maximum aggression. and forces you to pick a penalty every single night. She also will never allow you to see shops. Instead, you can use your money to remove penalties and animatronics. I don't care that you can remove things. Having to pick a penalty every night whilst also only having 1 heart is pure AIDS. F tier. Henry is the first character on the list to unlock. However, you can unlock them in pretty much any order you want. Henry is unlocked by beating at least 1 night while using Michael, Elizabeth, Evan, and Cassidy. Something that should be very easy to pull off. He gives you 3 hearts and gives you way more options when picking enemies, penalties, and shop items. However, you will be forced to pick more enemies and more penalties. The last thing you're going to want to do is give yourself more threats. So even though your option pool is bigger, the cons outweigh the pros here a lot. D tier. Gabriel can be unlocked by having 2 penalties active in a run that affect Freddy. He gives you 3 hearts, gives you a guaranteed shop every single night. But as a downside, each character comes with a few of their penalties already added. I'm sure you know what I'm going to say, and a lot of character-specific penalties are horrific. Sure, you may never have to pick a penalty after beating a night, but I really don't care about that as much as getting butt-fucked by character penalties. F tier. Jeremy can be unlocked by getting a power outage on night 3 and beyond and still surviving the night. Generally one of the harder characters to unlock. He gives you 5 hearts. You start the run with 500% power instead of 100%. The nights are shorter than usual, but as a downside, your power carries over from night to night. But don't let that fool you. 500% power is a lot of fucking power, and if you're good at enemy building, you can easily make that last a long time. And 5 hearts is a fuck ton. Easy A tier character. Susie will be unlocked if you die to Chica twice in a single night and then beat that night. She gives 3 hearts. Each enemy starts at max AI value, but you gain 1 life after you beat a night. Now, at first glance, this may sound really bad, but I actually had my second best run ever using Susie, and it's 100% because of that life gain. With characters always on max difficulty, there's no way for them to get harder, so you'll get used to them at their hardest difficulty pretty quickly. Sure, she's not the best, but she definitely isn't as bad as she sounds. B tier. Fritz is unlocked by having 100 or more coins at one time in a single run. He gives you 2 hearts, and your lives are attached to the number of coins you have. To be specific, for every 50 coins you have, that equals 1 heart. Overall, this character is more confusing than it will ever be useful, actively discouraging you from ever buying anything. You're better off just using Michael, as there's no real downside. D tier. Fitzgerald is unlocked by beating night 5 in a run whilst only picking the leftmost enemies and penalties. I actually struggled a bit unlocking this character, so what does he do? Well, you start with 3 hearts, and each enemy and penalty are randomized each night, meaning the 3 enemies you pick on night 1 will be different on night 2, and you can also pay to reroll, as well as getting a shop every single night. This character really just serves as what I'm going to call a challenge character. You would never actually want to bring this character into a legitimate run, and because of that, I'm giving him an F tier. Sally is easily the most unique character out of all of the normal ones, and I'll explain what normal means in a bit. You unlock her by beating a night with both Percy Poodle and Rowan Rat on max AI values. Sally introduces a brand new mechanic, that being the pup pal from Playtime with Percy. It works in the exact same way as in that game, and the best part, your progress on the night is tied to it. No more waiting out the night. You will have to complete the games on the pup pal for the night to end. Again, this goes to serve as more of a challenge character than anything else, as playing Sally will by default make the game much harder, and because of this, I'm giving her F tier. Again, not because she's not a fun character, but because if you're trying to get far in a run, she's not the character for you. And finally, we have the man himself, Scott Cawthon, who is unlocked by completing night 3 with every other character in the game. And of course, since he's the final character, he has the most interesting mechanic. He himself doesn't have any abilities, instead letting you pick the pros and cons from every other character in the game, allowing you to mix and match your favorite pieces from other characters. You don't need me to tell you that Scott is a broken character. I'm pretty sure you can figure that out. Easy S tier. And boom, that's every single playable character in Too Many Nights. So now we can start talking about the items that can be bought in the shop. I won't be going over each and every one, since there are literally a fuck ton to talk about, and this video is already long enough. but I do want to talk about some of the best ones to look out for. Early Out is an item that will make each night 2 seconds shorter. More Power will start each night with 10% more power. More Room will give you more options when picking animatronics. The Empress will give you 1 life and give you more options when picking animatronics. The Emperor will decrease every animatronic's AI value by 2. The Chariot will have you start each night with 15% more power. The Hanged Man will remove 2 random penalties you have activated. Death removes a random enemy. The Moon makes each hour 3 seconds shorter. Fritz Children's Bible will make items you can't afford never show up in shops, and Sparked will make sparks appear randomly on cameras, and touching them will increase your power. Those are all of the yummy mashed potatoes in my belly items that I like to look out for in the shop. Again, there are a lot more, but I think it would just be really boring to go over all of them. But there you go. That's everything you need to know, and as far as I'm aware, everything that Too Many Nights has to offer. I would highly recommend you give this game a try. It is some of the most fun I've ever had since starting this channel, and I actually plan on doing some Too Many Nights streams here on this channel. If that's something you're interested, let me know. Also, if you were interested, Too Many Nights is actually getting a version 2.1, and it's being worked on as I'm writing this. I'm super excited to see what it has to offer once it's fully released. This game is so incredibly unique and combines 2 of my favorite game genres of all time into one amazing game. The art style is unique, the community input is fantastic, and of course, the gameplay and gameplay loop are impeccable. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or were you just completely uninterested in a game like this? Let me know in the comments below. In my FNAF 1 remake video, I asked you guys if there was a series you'd like to see me revisit, and my favorite comment was this one by I don't know who this is. They said they want to see me cover Jolly again, and that's probably the funniest thing I've ever heard, because there's no way I will ever touch that game again in a million fucking years. Maybe I'll take a look at Jolly Bees sometime in the future though. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in the comments below. The Five Nights at Freddy's formula. Arguably what defines a FNAF game in the genre of a FNAF game. You're stuck in a small space, you can't move, and several threats are trying to eliminate you as you use a small amount of tools to defend yourself for an arbitrary amount of time. This, in a nutshell, is Five Nights at Freddy's as a genre. However, there are some Five Nights at Freddy's fan games that don't follow this formula, and if it wasn't for the use of the characters from the original game, you would have no idea that they were even FNAF games to begin with. And maybe you can think of a few games like this. The game I'll be covering today is another one of those games. A game so unique, so good, that if it didn't use official FNAF characters, it could easily be its own fantastic survival horror experience. So sit back, strap in, and join me today as we cover Fredbear and Friends Reboot. You can honestly think about Fredbear and Friends Reboot as more of an Outlast, Resident Evil, or Poppy Playtime style game, purely in terms of how it plays. It's a story-based, free-roam survival horror game, except it uses characters and settings from the Five Nights at Freddy's universe, and it's honestly super cool. We play as a guy named Thomas. When this game takes place, the Fredbear and Friends restaurant had been closed for over 26 years. And together with our friends Chris, Ashley, and Richard, they all decided it'd be a great idea to do some urban exploring in the now abandoned building, not knowing that they were about to walk into a sick and sadistic death trap, the likes of which they'd never experienced before. We drive to the restaurant where all of our friends are waiting and head inside to find them. We all talk about what the plan is, and it seems like they don't even fucking have one. So like, why are we even here? No matter. We decide to all split up like Scooby and the gang to explore faster, something I would never agree to do because this building is so dark I can barely see 10 feet in front of me. So, to solve the darkness problem, Richard finds the power room as we enter the office of the building. Successfully turning the power on, I ask the question, is it even possible for a building 26 years abandoned to even be able to have power? That's a genuine question, by the way. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but like, who's paying that bill? The city? I have no idea. After having our fun in the office, we meet back up with our bald friend Chris. I know being bald isn't a crucial plot point, but a plot point I found relevant to point out. Like, Imagine being bald. Couldn't be me. I have luscious locks. Bald bitch, loser bitch, boy, loser bitch. Chris tells us he wants to continue exploring to find out more about this place, which I call bullshit on because this bald loser is sitting down and is actually not exploring a damn thing. Heading back to the office, we find 2 documents for Chris since he's too lazy to go look for himself. One of the documents mentions the animatronics acting up, and the other talks about an armed man in a purple suit. I wonder who that could possibly be. We go back to where Chris was, only to find him missing. After exploring around, we realize we can't find Richard or Ashley either. We hear a voice in the distance yelling to get away, and later hear what sounds like Richard getting attacked.
What the fuck?
We decide to say fuck our friends and run to the exit, only to find that the door is somehow locked. We decide we need to go hide in the office since there's a door we can close to keep ourselves safe. As we run down the hallway, we run into Chris. Relieved, we go to greet him, only to watch him get snatched from something hiding in the vent on the ceiling, pulling him up into the ceiling and tearing him apart. Yeah, not this way though, not fucking that way, no we ain't. We obviously turn around and go to the other entrance of the office since I'm not about to get ganked like Chris just did. As we go to the other hallway, we can hear loud metallic footsteps following behind us. We quickly hide under the desk and hope that whatever is following us is retarded. We watch as a crooked spring Bonnie limps through the office, unaware of our location. We come back up only to hear a ring of the phone on the desk. We answer the phone to be greeted by some douchebag using voice mod like those guys that go on Valorant to flirt with any female over the age of 10.
If you want to survive, listen very closely.
He tells us how to survive each of the 8 animatronics. The fucking 8 goddamn cock-sucking animatronics. My god, that is a lot. I'm not going to explain every single animatronic at the same time right now because that would be boring as fuck. And trust me, this phone call was also boring as fuck. The big thing that we're told is that Fredbear is scary, and he's the reason why one of the doors to the office is broken. So fantastic, we have a door that doesn't work. What exactly are we supposed to do? I have no idea. I have no direction whatsoever aside from let's go see if I can break the exit door down. But before we can try anything, we're forced to listen to a cutscene while there are 8 hungry robots whose mouths begin to water whenever they smell my gooch. During this cutscene, we're put into the perspective of a mechanic named Simon. We're told that we have to go into the Fredbear's building to fix some of the robots because the customers reported them to be acting aggressive. So we can gauge that this cutscene obviously takes place before the shutdown. After this cutscene, we're actually put into the perspective of this mechanic as we head inside the building to solve the problem at 5 in the morning because as an engineer, we're on call all the time, yet still get paid like dog shit and are still expected to just wake up and travel at any time, even for the smallest of reasons that could 100% wait until my fucking shift starts. But alright, let's go I guess. As we enter the building, we notice the animatronics are on for some reason, and they shouldn't be at night. We figure somebody just forgot to shut them off, so we go to the employees' room to flip the switch to power them off to take a look at them. After grabbing the key from the office and heading inside, we find that the power lever for the robots is actually already off, yet for some reason, the characters are still on. We decide to just manually shut them off to work on them instead. So we walk to the stage, reach up to turn off Spring Freddy, only to get that Soulja Boy cranked on us and get knocked the fuck out by a guy who I can only assume to be the guy we heard on the phone. We come back to playing as Thomas again, and are tasked with obviously finding a way to get the exit door unlocked. We find a key to the bathroom on the office shelf and head down the hall to go inside. Inside of the bathroom, we find a hammer that we hope we can use to break the lock on the exit door. However, as we exit the bathroom, we see the non-attractive, fat-ass version of Chica heading in our direction, so we quickly jump inside of one of the stalls to hide. We hold our breath as Chica passes by and quickly run out to the exit door. We break the handle to the door and open it, seeing the final exit door. We don't get far before Foxy jumps out at us for some fucking reason. This door was locked? Why the hell was Foxy on the other side of it? Oh well, what the fuck ever. It's a little bit more important right now that we run away from the murder robot behind us. We run back to the employee room and hide behind a shelf. Foxy walks inside, but before he can find us, he hears a noise coming from the door inside of the room. Opening it, he finds who I can only assume to be Richard and jumps him like he's in Detroit. We take this chance to book it back to the exit. As we run, we hear Richard getting torn apart, screaming. We get to the door just in time, and Jesus fucking Christ, the door is gone? What the fuck? Let's ignore the fact that this doesn't make sense, because I don't think I need to explain to you why a door disappearing doesn't make sense. We turn around to see a certain large twitching bear. He just screams in our face and disappears, clearly being a hallucination. We figure there's no better time than the present to find another exit. As we walk into the main party room, so does Spring Bonnie. And now's the time where I can talk about how he works. Spring Bonnie is as basic as it gets when it comes to a survival horror character. He patrols around the building, and if you get too close to him in his line of sight, he'll start chasing you, and he won't stop chasing you until he kills you. And there's also no chance you're going to outrun him. The only way to get him to stop chasing you without dying is to lure him to the side of the office with a door and close it. But you also really have to be careful with how you close this door, because it doesn't work how any normal FNAF door would. It only stays closed for about 2 seconds, so make sure you time this properly. Nope. Oh! I closed it! I fucking closed it! I fucking closed it! I fucking closed it! I'm dead. I'm dead as shit. If you do, Spring Bonnie should be teleported to a different room in the building. We maneuver our way around Spring Bonnie and eventually make it to the other exit of the building, only to find that the door is missing too. Isn't life just so awesome sometimes? It's at this moment we hear Richard scream, which confuses me because I thought Richard just got killed by Foxy. So if who we heard just now was Richard, then who did Foxy just kill? It couldn't have been Chris because we saw Chris get killed by the fucker in the vents. It also couldn't be Ashley because it was 100% the scream of a man. And it can't be the engineer because he entered the building in that cutscene 26 or more years ago. This is not important at all, so let's actually continue talking about what's happening, shall we? We head back to the office where we heard the scream, only to find nobody there. We figure for some reason we should go back to the employee room. Why? Ask Shitlips Thomas, because I can't figure out a good reason to go back there, but apparently he's the FNAF expert and not me. Before we can continue, we get another engineer cutscene. We're dragged into a back room and we overhear 2 people talking. Well, really only one person talking, because the other guy has his voice changer on so deep thinking it'll make the e-girls wet, so I really can't even hear him.
Why didn't you just kill him? Really? Dave, you know exactly what happened before.
The voice I can hear sounds suspiciously like the guy on the phone who called us here at 5 in the fucking morning. He tells voice changer guy that he should just kill us so we don't get away like the other engineer and spread the word about what they're doing. After not doing it, the phone guy decides to just do it himself, so he enters the room and stabs us to death. Fantastic. I really shouldn't have lived in Chicago. Everyone in Chicago gets stabbed. Going back to the employee room, we find the corpse of a police officer. Seeing that his radio had been taken, we now know that whoever is behind this really knows what they're doing. But we figure that because a police officer went missing, that other officers will be arriving at some point to look for him. So knowing all we have to do is survive, this game's most agonizing survival section finally begins. And I get to explain what all of the characters do in grueling detail, because they're all laid on us at the exact same time, and we're just supposed to remember what they all do from the 2-minute phone call we got 15 minutes ago. Hooray. Alright, well, the goal is easy. Just survive until 6 AM without getting found by any of the animatronics. Sounds simple enough. All we have to do is track all of their movements and learn their patterns, and then find a spot in the massive 3D environment where none of the characters ever have a line of sight to, right? Almost, but not really, because one main character. Bonnie. Bonnie is this game's way of preventing you from doing exactly that. On certain time intervals, Bonnie will emerge from the room where the puppet is. Yes, by the way, the puppet is in this game. Don't think too much about it. There are a lot of characters from a lot of different FNAF time periods in this game, so just shut up. Anyways, Bonnie will exit this room and make his way to the employee room to turn the puppet control lever on. Once it's on, the puppet will begin moving on a track across the ceiling that leads to a door which has some chains on it. Why are there chains on this door? Well, it's to hold back and stop the big bastard himself, Fredbear. If the puppet makes it all the way to this door, it will break it down and allow Fredbear to come out. And spoiler alert, Fredbear always knows where you are, and if he gets out, you will 100% die, because as mentioned earlier, he doesn't care about the doors, and he is faster than you are. So, all you have to do to prevent this from happening is go into the employee room and turn off the puppet control lever whenever Bonnie turns it on. This leads to you needing to be moving around pretty consistently throughout this night. Why do that when you could just hide right outside of this room, or maybe even inside of it? Well, that's where Spring Bonnie comes back in. Spring Bonnie, and in fact every character during this section, has a very specific movement pattern that they will walk in. And thank God they do, because memorizing these patterns is the only reason I ever completed this section. Spring Bonnie has the habit of walking into literally every single room in the building, and his line of sight is really large, so you will have to always maneuver around him. Also, if that wasn't awesome enough, with every hour that passes during this section, each animatronic will become more and more agile, which really just means their line of sight increases. Chica is the next character I want to quickly mention, and she is pretty boring as a character. She's just Spring Bonnie, except her path doesn't cover as much ground as his does. Her line of sight also appears to be a lot smaller than his, so that's good news, I suppose. She does go through the main party room a bit during her cycle, and that will become important later when I go over my amazing strategy. Let's cover Freddy next, as he will probably cause you the least amount of issues out of every character in this game. Freddy will randomly spawn in random rooms, typically next to the doorways. All you have to do is not walk directly into him. He won't chase you, but if you get too close, he'll instantly kill you. So really just make sure you're watching where you're going. Mangle isn't that terrible either. Side note, I know its name in the game isn't actually Mangle, but fuck you. It looks just like her, and it crawls through the fucking vents like Mangle, so I'm calling it Mangle. Mangle is also the one that killed Chris in that cutscene earlier too, by the way. Mangle is also incredibly easy to deal with. On the floors and ceilings of certain rooms, there will be large vents. Occasionally, you may notice wires coming out from those vents. That means that Mangle is waiting there, and if you walk by, she'll snatch you up. So once again, just like Freddy, open your eyes and you'll be just fine. Foxy is the only real problem during this night, as he's a random character with no pathing, and is also super easy to forget about. Foxy has the chance to be hiding behind any doorway at any time. The only way to tell if he's there is by standing next to the doorway and listening for quiet breathing. For some reason, you can't just move to one side of the door and check if he's standing there, since you literally can't see him even if he is there, which is something I died to in my playthrough, and you can see that over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. That's really all of the problems to worry about during this night, but Bonnie is obviously the most dangerous. So, how should you go about pulling this off? Well, when this game first came out, there was a super awesome glitch you could use to cheese this entire section. If you remember where we hid from Foxy during a cutscene, you used to be able to hide in the exact same spot, and both Bonnie and Spring Bonnie, aka the only characters that enter the employee room, wouldn't be able to see you hiding there. And since it's in the employee room, it was right next to the puppet control switch, so you could beat the entire section just by standing in one spot. Unfortunately for me, I didn't get the luxury of being able to do that, as in the newer version of this game, during this section only, an invisible wall is placed there to block your path. So I had to play the legitimate way. This is when I started to develop my strategy. I'm gonna be so real with you, it took me about 45 minutes to complete this section. I am complete ass at these types of games, which is why I never play them. I personally really dislike the mechanic of every enemy is patrolling randomly and will chase you when seen, but you also have a bunch of bullshit to do at the same time. I know it's a common mechanic, but it's just never something I was able to get into, mainly because I don't take being chased very well at all, so it just kind of gives me a lot of anxiety. Here's how this section can be beaten 100% of the time for anyone who struggles with things like this, like I do. I came up with this myself. I'm super proud of myself. I did no walkthrough because I'm the best. The first step is to run out of the employee room as fast as you can and get to the far corner of the main party room to the left of the main stage. You have to be fast because Spring Bonnie will enter this room quickly after. While in this corner, both Spring Bonnie and Bonnie will never be able to see you, which is huge since this location also gives you an easy view of both of them since they enter through the door on your left. Once in this corner, Spring Bonnie will soon pass by. After a while, Bonnie will enter the room. Bonnie is slow as shit, so this will take a while. But once you see him, you can start following him. Bonnie doesn't care so much about killing you as he does flipping the puppet switch, so you can actually get pretty close behind him. Creep, 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 creep. That's the sound I make. Creep, creep, creep. You gotta match your steps with his, bro. Boom, 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 boom. All good. But obviously, if you get too close, he'll still kill you. Once Bonnie leaves the main party room to enter the hallway, Spring Bonnie should be up near the office, so you don't have to worry about him. Take the time it takes for Bonnie to enter the employee room and flip the switch to stand by the doorway to listen for Foxy. Once Bonnie flips the switch, quickly enter the employee room and turn it off. After Bonnie flips the switch, he will exit the room through a door you can't even open, so you don't have to worry about him turning around. After flipping the switch, you want to run back to the main party room. At this point, Chica should be inside. She will walk around the tables and exit the room through the door that both Bonnies enter through. Simply be slow and follow her. Once she leaves the room, go back into the far left corner again. This is now going to begin the second cycle. This time, since the paths that Bonnie and Spring Bonnie take are much different in length, they will be a lot closer together. Bonnie will enter the room first this time, with Spring Bonnie directly behind him. Once Spring Bonnie goes up and around the tables, you can start slowly following Bonnie. At this point, you'll have to be patient, since Spring Bonnie will enter the entrance room, then travel back into the party room, and then go into the hall to the employee room. Then we'll travel to the office. So you will hear Bonnie flip the switch, and you will have to wait probably 30 to 45 seconds before you can switch it back, because if you're too fast, Spring Bonnie will see you. If you sneak past him while he's in the entrance room, it appears that Foxy will always be behind the door to the hallway and you will die. So it's your best bet to just wait for Spring Bonnie to finish this cycle and start walking to the office. I recommend waiting directly in front of the stage during this section since he won't be able to see you. Once he goes down the hall, quickly run into the employee room and flip the switch. Then quickly run back into the party room and go right into the exit doorway. Chica will be entering the party room at this point, and if you're any closer to the stage, she will see you. Once she walks around the tables, once again, you can follow her out and go back to the hiding spot in the far left corner. Now, the third cycle gets a little bit scary, so be ready. Bonnie will soon enter the room again, with Spring Bonnie fairly close behind. However, there is enough room between Bonnie and Spring Bonnie for you to be able to get in between them. Closely follow behind Bonnie and Spring Bonnie will enter the party room. Continue to follow Bonnie into the employee room and shut the switch off immediately after Bonnie turns it on. Immediately run back to the entrance of the party room. At this point, Spring Bonnie should be walking into the exit room. You can take this small window of time to run to the front of the stage. Spring Bonnie will enter the hallway, and once he does, you're safe to go back to the exit doorway. Since Spring Bonnie is near the office, you don't need to go back to the corner. In fact, you actually shouldn't, because Chica will follow behind Bonnie. Bonnie will once again pass you, and you can once again follow him into the employee room and shut the switch. After flipping this switch, this final time, you're home free. Simply sit in the employee room and this nightmare of a section will come to an end. And the best part is, since the movement of almost all of the characters is scripted, you'll be able to use this method to beat this section of the game every single time without fail. I hope you enjoyed this overtly long explanation section. It's easily what took me the longest to do while playing this game, so I figured I should devote a long time in the script talking about it. Let me know what you think. After beating this section, we get a cutscene where we're running down the hallway, being chased by Spring Bonnie. We get into the office and close the door on him, which literally cuts the fucker in half. I love this. This is peak. Absolute cinema. As we turn around, Foxy charges at us, but luckily the animatronic power gets shut off and Foxy shuts down right in front of us. Walking down the broken doors hallway, we see a deactivated Freddy, and Chica tries to kill us, only to get powered off at the same time, which actually scared me in my playthrough, which you can find on my second channel, Dxtr Black. We continue to explore the now eerily quiet building. Going back to the exit, we fall to our knees, only for a door to appear in front of us, locked by a code. A voice comes over the intercoms that sounds weirdly like the guy that killed the engineer in a previous cutscene. He tells us that he's impressed by our work and that the animatronics we faced thus far will be deactivated for the remainder of our stay, aside from 2, who he calls his favorites. It's now up to us to figure out the code. We find a piece of paper on the wall that says "Find me." Not totally sure what the hell that means. We wander around into the puppet room where we find writing on the wall saying "It's me." Next to this message, we find another piece of paper saying "My back is to the corner." After reading this note, the 2 threats of this section activate: Fredbear and Mangle. Again, Mangle acts a bit differently, so let's talk about her first. This time, she's no longer in the vents. She's walking around the building. If she sees you, she'll roar like a dinosaur. And if you don't get out of her line of sight in 4 seconds, she'll start chasing you. And she won't stop until she catches you. So just like, run, I guess, bozo. Fredbear, on the other hand, should be scary. But because of an item we got at the beginning of this segment, he really isn't. At the start of this section, we're given a taser. Fredbear will always know where you are and will constantly be crip walking towards you. Except, Fredbear while walking is very slow, so you can easily stay away from him. Every once in a while, he will also roar for some reason, and will then begin to charge at you. While he's charging, he will be faster than you, but when he gets close, use your taser to stun him and he'll go back to walking. So avoiding the threats on this segment is honestly a cakewalk compared to what we had to deal with during the last section. Now, I had a stroke trying to figure out what "my back is to the corner" meant. What you have to do is find Freddy, since his back is to the corner of the wall. Except not really, because his back is just to the wall, not really the corner. Regardless, on his back is another note stating Camera 2. I've neglected to mention the cameras thus far, but that's because they're literally completely useless for the most part. Throughout the building, there are several monitor stands where you can place your monitor, because I guess you can't just hold a fucking iPad with your hands. You instead need a holder like a toddler who blares annoying ass YouTube videos while in a public restaurant, and the parents just find nothing wrong with that since they'd rather have the internet raise them instead of them. Anyways, when you place the monitor down, you can look at the cameras. Big whoop. Using your eyes is better in a game like this because you can walk around freely. Regardless, looking at Camera 2 now, we find another message saying, "I'm here." Going to the location of Camera 2, you'll find another note saying, "Look up." On the ceiling, you'll find the number 7 and yet another note reading "Inside my head." What this means, if you weren't a genius like me, is that you have to go to Foxy in the office and look in his mouth. Inside, you'll find the number 3 and another note reading "Behind a curtain." Now, there are 3 curtains in this building, and you have to look at each of them in a specific order, which is dumb because all you're doing is looking behind them. Behind the last curtain, you'll see the number 7, and then some text reading "The safest place" will start flashing on your screen. Let's pause. I really don't understand why it wasn't just another note. This is supposed to be like an escape room set up by the guy that locked us in here. How the fuck was he able to make us hallucinate a phrase? I don't know. Let's move on. The safest place refers to the office. Going back to the office, we find another note reading "the second digit." Obviously, the second digit is the number 3, as it's the second digit we found on this little scavenger hunt. Finally, going back to the exit door, we can type in the code 6373. Fun fact, by the way, you can actually just type in this code at the start of this section if you don't want to go through all the bullshit I just explained, because there's no check here to see if you have or not. But after punching in the code, the door disappears. Opening another door that it was covering leads to another room with no fucking door. Falling to our knees again, All of a sudden, the door reappears for some reason, and a bunch of police officers barge in past us, and we're taken out of the building to safety. After being rescued, we're shown a cutscene where Thomas is either being interviewed by police or is in a therapy session. I can't quite tell which one is correct. He freaks out about his friends being killed and then realizes he never heard anything from Ashley. No screams, no body found, nothing. This makes him tweak like when I'm in line at the grocery store and some 40-year-old mom pulls out her own grocery bags to save the environment. You want to know what I do when I see someone using their own bags in the grocery store? When it's my turn in line, I tell the bagger, hey, all my shit, double bag it. Anyways, after this cutscene, we're thrown into the credits, but that's not where this game comes to an end. We actually get a post-credit scene like it's a Marvel movie, where Thomas is in his room. He wakes up in the middle of the night and looks out his window, only to see the silhouette of an animatronic we never saw in the pizzeria staring back at him. And finally, Fredbear and Friends reboot comes to a close. Overall, I think this game was a super enjoyable experience. Did I get overtly frustrated and almost give up while playing the survival section? Yes, but I beat it, and I'm glad I did. The story to this game is simple and nice. There's no retarded digging that we have to do to learn the simplest things like a fucking name of a character, Scott, asshole. We're instead just given a story the way it should be given. A few mysteries here and there, but nothing so overtly frustrating that it makes it not fun to figure out. The game looks gorgeous, it plays well when you understand what you're doing, and overall I would highly recommend you give it a go. Obviously, from the teaser we saw at the end of the game, a second game was clearly in the works. But with no updates for several years, and it being confirmed that at some point the game's development was put on halt, and given the fact that this game came out 7 years ago, I don't think it's very likely we'll see Chapter 2 anytime soon. But hey, only time will tell. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think this game was actually doo-doo ass rank? Let me know in the comments below. In my next Week at Freddy's video, I asked you guys what FNAF game you guys thought doesn't get enough recognition, and my favorite answer is this one by Seal Bonk. They said the Dormitibus remake, and I agree. I think that title has been dragged through the mud for obvious reasons, and I don't think a lot of people know that a remake even came out. Definitely go check it out if you haven't. What do you think makes a game a masterpiece? Let's actually make that question a little more specific. What do you think makes a FNAF game a masterpiece? Is it purely graphics, good sound design, or maybe you just care about the story? While those are all valid answers, my answer tends to be a little different. I love myself some good post-game, extra things that can be done aside from the main story mode, and rest assured the game that we're going to be covering today has plenty of it. You've all been wanting me to cover this game for a long time, and we're finally here. So strap in and join me today as we talk about Knuckles Week at Sonic's. Before we even start talking about the actual mechanics this game has to offer, there's a pre-game cutscene for us to take a look at. Obviously, throughout this game we play as Knuckles, and if you couldn't figure that out, then my best bet is your parents dropped you on your head when you were developing, or if it wasn't that, then while your mom was pregnant, she was doing belly flops in the pool all the time. In this cutscene, we see Knuckles guarding the Master Emerald, but low-key, he was bored as hell, not even gonna front. A flyer blows onto one of the pillars on Angel Island. Knuckles investigates and sees that it's a job offering for a security guard at Sonic's Hero Pizza Palace. For some reason, God knows what, Knuckles decides that working at a restaurant would be a better use of his time instead of guarding the fucking emerald, aka literally his only job. Knuckles pulls up to Vector's crib. With him is Espio and Charmy B for some reason. He offers the three of them guap to go watch the Master Emerald while he fucks off on some side quest for a week. They agree, and bada bing bada boom, we have the reason that Knuckles is here. Does it make any sense at all? Literally fucking no, but whatever. Now, instead of just entering into the night like you would expect, you instead get thrown into a side scroller. You get approximately 17 minutes of tutorial that was boring enough for me to rip all of my toenails off. Basically, all you need to know is the way you enter nights is by interacting with these big odd TVs. After you complete a night, the next will unlock. This is really just a FNAF menu, but overcomplicated for no reason. Anyways, entering into the first night, we quite literally get the most painful phone call of all time. For some reason, this game thought it would be super cute and funny to be the only FNAF game in existence to not have a voice-acted phone call. So instead, you have to read approximately 37 paragraphs before you can even start the night. Luigi is the one giving us the voicemails, and he was working the week before us. He tells us some bullshit that I'm gonna end up telling you guys anyways, so let's just jump right into the tools at our disposal. Let's start by talking about our power, since yes, they somehow decided to make it more complicated than it needed to be. Your power can be replenished. Okay, so I over-exaggerated when I said it was overcomplicated. The way you recharge your power is through your cameras. Inside of your cameras, you will see a specific camera with an arrow above it. In this camera, rings will spawn at random intervals. Collecting them will increase your power by 4% per ring. Occasionally, the ring camera will switch, but it's always super easy to find because of the arrow. I'm not even going to pretend to understand how that makes any sense, but we're just gonna nod our heads and smile. Your doors are pretty simple. They close. Well, if you keep them closed for too long, they'll overheat and drain power faster than usual. That's really about it. Time to move on to the threats this night introduces. Let's start by talking about Mario since he's basic and fat. Mario's goal is to attack your left door. However, there's not a single character in this game that I personally find boring, which is actually super great. Before Mario comes to your door, he'll attempt to move into camera 5. Inside of camera 5, there are several classic Mario power-ups, and Mario is really trying to get his hands on the fire flower. Why exactly is he trying to do that? Well, because the fire from the flower is strong enough to melt through metal, aka your doors. The way you prevent him from getting this flower is by shutting the light off in the camera when he enters it. When he enters camera 5, there will be a creaking sound cue. After you turn the light off, he will bum rush your left door, so make sure you close it quickly or he's gonna pole vault into that ass. The other character introduced on this night is Yoshi, and she is also a pretty interesting character. The whole goal for Yoshi is to attack your right door. On camera 7, which is the kitchen, you can pick up an apple. Fucking somehow, you're able to grab an apple in camera 7 and have it appear in your hand, even though you're in a completely different room. Does that make any sense at all? No, but I'm also playing as an echidna right now, so I think all logic is already being tossed out the window. Anyways, once Yoshi makes her way to your door, which by the way has no sound cue along with it, so that's just great, you will have to hold your flashlight on her and throw the apple into her mouth. This will satiate her hunger, but her potent fury will still be an issue. Quickly close the door after you feed her and wait for her to slam on the door a few times. Then you can open the door again. Now, that's all the threats this night introduces, but I've still got one more crazy mechanic to talk about, that being blocking and parrying. What the fuck does that mean? Well, if you fuck up and a character jump scares you, you can actually pull your fists up to block them, which is just fucking insane. The window for doing this is borderline frame perfect, but if you can manage to be fast enough, you can save yourself from certain death one time per night, which is pretty cool. Anyways, that's all night 1 has to offer. After each night, you're given a score with a final letter ranking. The more rings you collect, the higher it goes. Having a high amount of saved power will also increase this rating, and of course, the difficulty you play the night on. This is a super fun little touch that I love, and it really brings out my goblin completionist brain. But as you'll see, this game is about to get really fucking hard, so I don't think I'll be getting many other letter grades up to A. Moving on to night 2, we only introduce one new threat. The phone call is pretty fucking worthless, just explaining how said new threat works. So instead of talking about the phone call, we can just talk about the threat. That threat being Tails, who as you could probably expect is this game's Foxy, and who is so far, in my opinion, the most boring character in the entire game. Can't win them all, I suppose. Tails will slowly make his way out of Pirate's Cove. Once he leaves, he'll charge towards your left door. However, this is where he gets a bit different from Foxy. Instead of having to close the door on him, all you have to do is hold your flashlight in his eyes for a few seconds to make him go away. He does also make a sound cue running down your hall, which I do think is nice. However, this mechanic does bring up a few problems. Not for us as players, but for the game. The reason you stall Foxy in FNAF 1 is because when he bangs on your door, it drains power. Well, Tails doesn't bang on the door in this game, and even if he did, you can very easily recollect power through the rings on the cameras. So it honestly makes Tails a pretty useless character overall. You don't even need to have a super fast reaction time to deal with him, since it takes him quite a while to actually make it down your hallway. Oh yeah, during the night, the phone guy tries to explain how the rings make any sense at all, which I appreciate because they make no sense. His explanation is, no joke, Tails is smart and can clone them with a clone machine. So it really just doesn't fucking answer the question at all, so I guess I'll just go fuck myself then. One more thing I want to mention before we move on to the next night is how long the nights are, since I'm noticing I haven't actually done that yet. While yes, each night starts at 12 a.m. like most FNAF games, for some reason, the devs thought it would be really cute and hilarious to make the nights end at 8 a.m. instead of 6 a.m., making these nights take way fucking longer than they need to. And I'm not gonna lie, I say this all the time, I am horrible at FNAF games. Absolutely dog shit. So when I die at 7 a.m., it really makes me want to sit underneath a lawnmower and turn it on. But hey, surely the next night won't introduce the worst character of all time, right? Spoiler alert, it does exactly that. So let's waste no time and talk about him. Actually, psych, I fucking lied. We're not gonna talk about the new threat quite yet. First, I wanna mention the phone call. Luigi mentions he's noticing an active Sonic that's not the actual Sonic we see on stage. He says that it's a spare costume they keep in the back room. Probably this game's version of a Springlock suit. Luigi thinks that Eggman has something to do with this, but why the fuck would Dr. Rofatfuck give a shit about a pizza place? Oh yeah, he literally wouldn't care about that at all, so I'm just gonna move on from that stupid theory. Luigi, you're retarded, and I hate you. Anyways, moving on to the threat this night introduces, that character being Sonic. The actual Sonic this time, not the mascot Sonic that Luigi saw. Sonic's mechanic is simple in practice, but can be difficult to deal with if you're not good at paying attention. Sonic's aggression is directly tied to the rings you collect. You obviously need to collect the rings because if you didn't, you would most certainly run out of power by 8 a.m. However, now when you look at the cameras, you'll be able to see a Sonic counter in the bottom of the screen. Every time you collect a ring, this counter goes down. When it reaches 0, Sonic will progress to his next stage and the counter will reset. Upon entering his third and final phase, he will move to camera 9 and you will also get an alert for that camera letting you know he's on his last phase. When he enters this phase, you need to check camera 9 to see which side of the camera he's on. Depending on which side he's on will tell you which door he's going to attack. Once you bring his counter down to 0, he will immediately charge at your door. You will have less than a fraction of a second to close the door he's going to attack before he quite literally pile drives that anus into another country. The best strategy I can recommend here is that you should get his final counter down to 1, close the door he's going to attack, and then grab the last ring. That way you won't have to react to him at all. You can also not worry about Sonic when you're dealing with the other characters because he will never move under any circumstance unless you're collecting rings. So while he is a pretty annoying character, he's also incredibly forgiving. Honestly, at this point in the game, I still think Yoshi is probably the most difficult character to deal with purely because she's the only character that doesn't make a sound cue. And I'm retarded and forget to grab another apple from the kitchen every time she attacks. But that part is more of a skill issue. The no sound cue part does make my dick shrivel up though. Alright, here we are in night 4. This night introduces a pretty interesting character. But before we really jump into the ass clench that this night is, we should talk about the pre-night cutscene.
Hey, Knuckles. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up, because I might not see my friends again after this shift. Something evil is here. I keep seeing seeing it and nobody believes me. The fact that the old clones move around, but I've seen it. You need to leave now and don't look back. Hey, Knuckles, tell Mario that I love him.
So yeah, in case your eyes don't work or you're brain dead, Luigi just got completely murked. Sorry, Buster. Sucks to suck. Anyways, as you probably noticed, Luigi didn't actually explain how to deal with the issue that night. And while I usually bitch about the phone guy doing this, I'm never actually serious about it bothering me, as it does make perfect sense that the phone guy should explain these things to you. However, now that our phone guy is dead and we still don't know how to deal with the new threat this night introduces, what are we supposed to do and how are we supposed to know how to deal with the threat without somebody telling us? Well, it seems this game didn't really think about that part because the way it teaches us is just by putting the text on our screen. This just feels really weird. Who exactly is telling us this information and why did the devs feel like this was the best way to go about it? I have no idea, but enough padding for runtime. Let's actually talk about the new threat Night 4 introduces. That threat being Golden Sonic. Golden Sonic is definitely an annoying character, but thankfully he's nowhere near as frustrating as I was expecting him to be. Golden Sonic will start in your right doorway. Yes, your doorway. He never leaves. Throughout the night, the longer he sits in the dark, he will start to materialize in your doorway. If he does this fully, then he'll blow your back from the back. Bars. To keep him from materializing, all you have to do is occasionally hold your flashlight on him to make him go away. Now, I personally think putting him in the right doorway makes him pretty worthless, since you'll be constantly flashing your light in this doorway anyways to deal with Yoshi. Now, if they were to just move him to the left side, I think this would make him a million times more difficult, since up until this point, the only time you ever need to flash the left door is when Tails is attacking. So giving the player another reason to constantly look back and forth would not only make his mechanics seem more useful, but would also, of course, make it a lot more stressful. I think Golden Sonic could have been a really cool character. I'm just super happy they didn't turn him into a find him on the camera character, since they very easily could have and just completely ruined this fucking game. But thankfully, the devs have a heart and soul, and I think that's something we all can really appreciate. Anyways, time to move on to Night 5. Night 5 opens to a phone call. You might think that's pretty weird since we just saw Luigi get fucked, so who could possibly be calling us? Well, let's take a look.
Hello, Knuckles. You're doing wonderfully amazing in your job. It's the last day for you. Then you get to spend the weekend guarding the Master Emerald. Sounds like vacation for you. Yeah, I'd probably want that. Do you want to know what I want? And it's something I always had several years ago. I want the attention I deserve to have. Do you think you can help me with that? It would be delightful if you did. But until then,
So yeah, Golden Sonic means fucking business tonight, clearly, and you'd better believe he means it. Well, as you can tell from the AI values before entering the night, this one is going to be a challenge. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot to talk about since nothing new is introduced. This is just a much harder version of Night 4. But I do have one important piece of advice. There will probably be a few instances where multiple characters attack your door at the same time. Mainly for me, it happened to be Mario and Tails. If Tails is ever an attacking character, always make sure you deal with him first, since he is by far the least forgiving character out of the cast. After completing Night 5, we get another cutscene. Of course, we get our paycheck, which is only 200 rings, which is complete bullshit because throughout the nights, I was consistently collecting over 500, but fuck it, whatever, sure. I still don't even understand the whole point of us going to the pizza place in the first place, but sure. Knuckles makes his way back to the Master Emerald only to see Vector, Charmy, and Espio all knocked out by the emerald. Except they're not by the emerald because we noticed that the emerald is actually missing, but a piece of paper is left in its place. Looking at the paper, we see a picture of this goofy ass looking Sonichu looking fuck, and on the back of the paper is a note, presumably from Sonichu, telling us that if we want the emerald back, we can get it back on Saturday if we come back to the pizzeria. So fuck it, we don't get to enjoy our weekend. We have to go back to get this stupid fucking emerald again. Hopefully Night 6 isn't going to be fucking insanely hard. right? Night 6 is fucking insanely hard. Like, really fucking hard. However, I do think it's probably the coolest night in the entire game. This night really takes Golden Sonic and pumps him full of crack because holy shit, he's insane on this night. Before we get into the night, we actually get to see one of the coolest cutscenes I've ever seen in a FNAF game before. Take a look.
Greetings again, Knuckles. You do not know how happy I am to see you arrive on such a dreadful day. In fact, I still need your help with the attention I rightfully deserve. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. I wasn't always like this. I remember that exact day when I came out of the machine. I immediately looked ugly because my colors were wrong, and I had these long arms. But it didn't stop the attention I got. It felt like I was a part of something big. It was only me on that stage. I was mad as my career was stolen by that doctor. Doesn't deserve that. However, I enjoyed the pain of being thrashed. Felt like it showed me a better way to get attention. I learned so much when going through that excruciating pain. The mindset I have right now is to kill someone. Not because I am a killer with no mind. I am a killer with a mind and a goal to reach. I could just kill someone that's very well known. Tear off their head, their limbs, leave them unrecognizable, and show it to the world. Show the world who I am and what I can do. I almost had that moment until that little fool was able to escape my class. He was reported missing after showing his face here. It's not enough. It's not enough for me to be known, to regain that spotlight. I know what you can do to help me, Knuckles. There's no escaping, so a better idea would be for you to just give up and let me take you to a better world. What do you say? In denial. Fine. That was your way then.
Incredible animation. That's all I'll say about what I just saw. This might just be the coolest shit I've ever seen come out of a FNAF fan game before. And by the way, if you were curious, all of the art in this game was done in Ibis Paint. Anyways, let's start with the worst mechanic he has. Throughout the night, he will disable your ability to collect rings. So that's AIDS. How do you get the ability to do it again? Well, on this night, you'll be able to see a camera symbol inside of your cameras. Yeah. You know exactly what I'm about to say. When he disables your rings, he will randomly teleport to a camera and you'll have to fucking find him and flash him with your camera. Now get this. As the night progresses, when he does this attack, he'll have the chance to teleport to more than just one camera. That's right. Find him on the cameras up to 5 fucking times when nearing the end of the night. And what makes this even worse is that your camera flash has a pretty long cooldown, making me want to rip my foreskin off as I wait for it to charge up just to be able to flash him again. But we're not done yet. Golden Sonic has a fuck ton more tricks up his sleeves. To start, he still has the shining door mechanic you have to keep track of, so make sure you're keeping track of it. His next attack actually has him come into the office and start a miniature boss fight where he'll have several different attacks that he can do. When he jumps into your office, you'll see him start moving around, putting his arms up. When he swings his arm down, you'll have to face the opposite side of the office to dodge the attack. Do this a few times and eventually he'll try to do a full attack where he'll lunge towards you. When he does this, you'll have to block him and then punch him in the fucking face. Yes, I'm serious. This will deplete some of his health, and as I'm sure you could have guessed, this night doesn't end until you get Golden Sonic's health bar down to 0. But as the night progresses, his battle attack gets worse, just like his find him on the camera mechanic. The later the night gets, the more likely it'll be for a shadow clone of Sonic to appear in the office as well during his battle attack. While this shadow is in your office, you will not be able to deal damage to Golden Sonic. In order to make the shadow go away, you will have to hold your mouse on it. Except if you get unlucky, Golden Sonic could constantly camp the side that the shadow is on, leading to you never being able to get rid of it. Holy shit, this guy's fucking AIDS. As the night goes on, he'll develop another trick in addition to his battle attack, that being having chain chomps attack you as well. Occasionally, the top or bottom half of your screen will turn red. You need to make sure your mouse is not touching that red section. After a second or two, a chain chomp will glide across the red part of the screen, and if your mouse is there, you'll lose a life. Keep in mind, by the way, as you're dealing with Golden Sonic, all of the other characters are still active as well, so make sure you don't let that slip your mind or it's GG. But we're not done quite yet. Let's say you manage to get Golden Sonic's health down to 0. Just take a look at what happens.
We've only just begun our game, but now it's your turn to be left alone.
That's right, every other character deactivates and it becomes a full-on 1v1 battle against Golden Sonic. As this section of the night progresses, he'll obtain all of the additional abilities he got during the first half of the night. This includes the chain chomp attack, the shadow attack, and fuck it, they actually add another trick on top of that. Now, when you only have about 3 punches left before winning, Golden Sonic will get the ability to fake you out, and he will do this every single time. Both your block and punch have a cooldown, so you can't just spam them, and the game tries to take advantage of this. When he goes in for his final attack, block him. However, don't punch right away as he's going to teleport to a random point in the office. You'll have to quickly find him and then punch him. If you punch too soon, like directly after the block, then it won't cool down fast enough before he starts his next round of attacks. This section of the night is brutally difficult, but I can't lie, it's probably my favorite part of the game. It's incredibly satisfying and feels really responsive. It's not janky, and every mistake will feel like your fault when you make it, which is how you know the devs really knew what they were doing. A really cool touch during this section is once you get him down to 3 health, all of the other characters will peer in through the doorways to watch the fight happen. They don't add anything to the fight, but I think it's just a really nice touch. But if you can manage to beat Golden Sonic, you will be met with one more quick time event where you will have to spam click to choose an ending. If you let him kill you, then obviously you get the bad ending. But if you can keep up with him, which really isn't that hard, thankfully, then you'll get the good ending. Knuckles beats the fuck out of not only Golden Sonic, but also every other character in the fucking restaurant and even destroys the restaurant itself. Knuckles busts his way out of the restaurant and we get the following cutscene.
Are you Knuckles the Echidna?
Yeah?
This is for you.
I'm confused. What do you mean by causing damage to property?
Well, for starters, we went ahead and attacked the spare clone we had. Not sure why it was moving, but it's severely valuable.
You mean that old junk with long arm? That thing looks as old as a rock sitting on the floor for centuries.
Some attitude, huh? Anyway, you not only damaged the spare clone, but you went ahead and demolished the entire building, as well as also damaging the other clones.
Well, what was I supposed to do? Those clones would have killed me if I didn't do anything. Have you actually acknowledged that in your weird-shaped head?
Look, we aren't looking for excuses. Just know you aren't allowed near company grounds for the rest of your life.
Whatever. That was a strange week. At least they know not to mess with a warrior like me.
Once again, the animation is completely on point here. The artists did an absolutely wonderful job. The story mode of this game has been amazing, but as I'm sure you could have guessed by the fact that I called it story mode and not just the game, we've still got quite a bit more to talk about. So let's start by talking about the custom night challenges and the 4 new characters they introduce. The first additional character I want to talk about is Daisy. You unlock her by completing the open and closed night, which also happens to have her in it. Throughout the night, her crown has a chance to randomly appear in the office and float towards one of your doors. All you have to do is close the door the crown is floating to before it gets over there, and that's literally it. Pretty underwhelming overall. The second character we can talk about is Toad, the character you can find in the SmackDown mode. This is probably my favorite, I can't lie. Occasionally, Toad will run into the middle of your office and you'll have to spam click the shit out of him until Knuckles gives him a fucking uppercut. Tell me that isn't badass, bro, because it is. The third character we can talk about is Blaze the Cat, who you can unlock in the Flash Photography Custom Night Challenge. She is also incredibly easy, but not nearly as easy as Daisy in my opinion. Occasionally, you'll hear her laugh, which means she'll either appear on camera 2 or camera 8. Figure out which one she's on and flash her and she'll fuck off. If you can manage to flash her within 4 seconds of her laughing, it'll actually make her take a little bit longer to attack another time. So be on that shit to deal with her as little as possible. The final character that Custom Night adds is Mighty. Mighty will at random appear in either one of your doorways, slowly charging up a punch. What you have to do is very simple. You just need to make sure that when Mighty attacks that the door he is at isn't closed. Otherwise, he'll completely destroy it and you'll obviously lose to one of the other characters. So that's all of the new threats Custom Night introduces, but would you believe me if I said we're still nowhere near close to done talking about this game, as the Custom Night also gives all of the 5 main characters an additional ability to make them even harder than they already were. And it's with these additional encore challenges where I feel this game starts to get really, really hard. Let's start with Sonic, who probably has one of the most ass hair ripping mechanics of the entire cast. After Sonic attacks your door normally, he will attempt to sneak attack one of your doors. You'll have to check the hallway cameras to see which door he's about to attack, and then hold your flashlight in that doorway until you hear him give up and leave. Most of these extra buffs will just be adding more steps to their attacks, which of course means you'll have to spend more time on them, which of course is why I feel that makes the game the hardest it can be. Mario's mechanic is also not very fun for us at all. Mario has the opportunity to completely skip his supply closet route and just head to your door with no sound cue at all, meaning you'll have to constantly check both doors now. However, he will not skip the closet 2 attacks in a row, so once you deal with his first attack, it should be pretty obvious which attack he's going to do. Yoshi's additional buff is really just more annoying than anything else. Every time you do the apple minigame in the cameras, the location of where the apple minigame is will change. It'll be marked on the cameras, so it's not really that big of a deal as long as you have eyes. Tails' buff is insane. Occasionally, throughout the night, a random pop-up will appear on your camera. While it's on the cameras, Tails will leave his cove at an insanely fast speed. All you have to do is close the pop-up to get this to stop, but I can promise you that you're not gonna be as fast as you think you will be. Golden Sonic's buff is, in my opinion, a bit of a nothing burger. The only thing that changes about him is when you drop your camera, he has a chance to be right in front of you. All you have to do is pull the camera back up and it'll go away. Simple sugar. Now, you think I'd be done, but I'm not, because the 4 additional characters actually also get a buff as well. So let's talk about Daisy first. Pretty simple. You'll just get less time to close the door when the crown spawns. Nothing crazy. Toad's buff is just annoying. Now when he appears in your office, he'll run from side to side, making it just a little bit harder for you to click on him a bunch, but really nothing too bad. Blaze's buff is probably the most interesting of the 4 extra characters. Once Blaze appears, fireballs will start falling from the top of the screen. For each one you touch with your mouse, you will have 2 less seconds to deal with Blaze. So it's really important that you're good at bullet hell type shit for this attack, because she really isn't playing around. Now, Mighty's buff is pretty cool. After Mighty attacks your first door, when you deal with him, he will immediately move to your other door. Except when he gets to that side, you have less than a second to make sure that door is open or you're completely fucked. Now, that is actually all of the custom night challenges that this game has to offer, as far as I'm aware. However, we're still not quite done talking about this game because it has an additional mode that you can play that's just like probably the coolest thing I've ever seen. Knuckles Week at Sonic's actually has a roguelike game mode that you can play. Holy fuck, I love this so much, it's not even funny. I will suck off whoever had the idea to add this. I will literally gape my cheeks for you, please. All right, so this roguelike section is super cool. You start with all characters active, but their AI values are super low. The goal of the waves is to collect a certain quota of rings throughout the camera. With each wave, the number of rings you need to collect will go up. The game mode is pretty boring until you reach wave 5, wherein all AI will be increased by 5. And this happens with every subsequent 5 waves. Also, once you reach wave 5, you will get a random additional challenge to do each wave. The first challenge is Juicy Generator, which prevents you from gaining power from collecting rings. Instead, you will get the ability to charge your generator to 100% 6 times throughout the wave by holding a button in your office, so use them wisely. The next challenge is Red Rings. On every camera that isn't the camera with the normal rings, red rings will appear, and if you ever accidentally collect one, it will increase the speed of all of the other characters for the rest of the wave. The next challenge is something with your fucking doors. It just removes all of the door buttons from your office and adds them into the cameras. This honestly makes dealing with Mario and Sonic easier, so this is a pretty good one. The next challenge I want to talk about is pretty useless. It just prevents you from blocking, but if you aren't literally horseshit at the game, then you shouldn't even need to be blocking in the first place, so this one really isn't a problem. Now, the next challenge we'll talk about is Brutal. Occasionally throughout the wave, you'll get a character head appearing in the top corner of the screen. You will have to find that character on the fucking cameras and take a picture of them or you will die. This is easily my least favorite challenge throughout the game, for obvious reasons. I can't lie, it's brutal. The next challenge adds in those shadow Sonics we saw earlier. They will randomly spawn by your doors and prevent you from using them. Just hover your mouse over them and they'll disappear. This honestly sounds a lot worse than it actually is, so don't stress too much. The next challenge is fucking terrible. It's called Wacky HUD, and every single time you use your cameras, the HUD of the game has the chance to go to the top or bottom of the screen. It doesn't make the game hard, but it's really aids to deal with. The next challenge is called Blurry Cameras, and it does exactly what you think it would do. It blurs the cameras and grayscales them for some reason. Just take a look at this. It's awful, and I hate it. Faulty Flashlight is the name of the next challenge. This causes using your flashlight for too long to cause it to fucking break. You really have like no time at all to use it, so you better not be playing around with it for even a second. The final challenge we have to talk about is called Darkness. It does exactly what you would expect it to do. It covers your entire office in darkness, and the only way you'll be able to see anything is via your flashlight. So have fun. That's all of the challenges that this mode has, and I honestly wish it had some more. Obviously, this game's purpose isn't to be a roguelike, and I know that, but adding some sort of shop into the game or making the challenges stack over nights would be cool, since you'll only ever get one challenge per wave. But as far as I'm aware, that's all Knuckles Week at Sonic's has to offer. Overall, I think this game is a fucking masterpiece. There's so much post-game after the story mode, and if there's anything you guys know about me, it's how much I fucking love post game, and this game does not disappoint in that regard. The animations are crazy and the soundtrack is some of the best I've ever heard as well. But let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with me, or do you just not understand the hype around this game? Let me know in the comments below. In my Saturday Night at Freddy's video, I asked you guys who was your biggest FNAF Hear Me Out, and my favorite answer was this one by Reaper Zio. They said Nightmarion, and the reason they gave is absolutely foul. With the question of the video being asked, subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate it a lot. Thank you to these 3 talented artists for your fan art. You can submit yours in the Discord, link in the description. Thank you to all of my super fan channel members. You guys make me feel like I actually have friends. I've been Dexter, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!